Happy birthday tonight. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. It is time. It is time. It's like the Lion King where Rafiki goes, it is time. Oh my gosh, I can't express to you all how excited I am to talk about Free. I can't. This has been a 9-month journey. I started this series. I can't believe it's been almost a year when you think about it. It was way back in September of last year. It's been probably closer to 10 months since I have started this series. And I had a poll for a sports anime, and Free and Run with the Wind. Run with the Wind seems like forever ago. It won. They both tied. So I watched both of them at the same time. And that kind of started me doing Tuesday and Wednesdays with those series, or Wednesday and Thursdays. And I obviously got done with Run with the Wind really soon. And then because it was only 23 episodes, and I followed Free for so long, and here we are. So look at the chat. Hello, hi Sirdan. Hello. I'm awful at pronouncing names. Arima May, Shishimayu, Tonya. Hi, hello. Oh my gosh. So this series has been my comfort anime. This is a comfort anime for sure. If I am sick, I will sit on my couch and pop in Free. Hello, Thea. Hello, Z. And I will just basically binge watch Free. I don't watch the dub. I can't do the dub. This is one of those series that I have to watch the original. And it's nothing against the dub. I just can't get into it like I can with the original sub. The original sub actors, Mamoru is so perfect as Rin. Like, they're just so good. Hello, Sifik. Hello. It's going to be weird not having Free every week, because I'm not going to lie. This show has been my buffer for the more traumatic shows. Like when I was watching Banana Fish, it became my ritual that I would watch an episode of Banana Fish and react to it, and then I'd cry, and then I'd go over to Free and feel much better. It was like my comfort. I'm like, well, I've just had my heart ripped out, so now I'm going to have it mended back together by Free and the power of Nakama. So it was just, this show has been, hey, Anna, you haven't missed anything. We just started. It's been a comfort anime for me, and it's been one that every week I've looked forward to watching the movies and watching everything. And it's sad that I'm not going to have it week to week anymore. It really is. I would say of all the shows I've watched so far since I've started reacting and doing this channel, Free is the one that I'm probably going to miss the most. And I love Banana Fish. Banana Fish is one of my favorite series. It's probably my favorite anime. But with Free, I've been following it for 3 seasons and all the movies and everything. It's just going to feel weird not having it week to week. It already feels weird because I've started the new show, and we'll talk about it at the end of the live stream. But it feels weird not reacting to Free. It really does. So I've got some other things planned, and I'm going to talk about it. So Arima Mary, to answer your question on the chat, the Free series is pretty much over. The only thing they have left are 2 movies. They are doing The Final Stroke, which the title of the movies is amazing. I love it. The Final Stroke. Just do it. Just go there at Kiani. We know at this point. But yeah, there's 2 movies left, and one is coming out in September in Japan, and the other one is coming out April of 2022. And I was just reading some comments today and yesterday on some of the Free videos that y'all left, and one of you said that it's funny because the second Free Final Stroke Part 2 is coming out April 2022, and that will time itself with when the episode that Haru went to Australia came out, and the movies are set in Australia. And I'm like, oh, that's so perfect. It's so fitting that it's all coming full circle. Amazing. But yeah, I'm so excited. So hey everybody, welcome to the chat. I am so ready to talk about Free. You all don't maybe realize this, but you shouldn't be surprised. I have like a whole 2 pages of notes of chat notes. These are the most notes I think, other than Banana Fish, I've ever written for a live stream, because there's just so much to talk about. There's so much to talk about. And it's like, where do I start? So I am going to go through this as organized as I can. And at the very end of the live stream, if y'all have any questions, stuff that I didn't cover that you want to ask about, come through outline. You better believe it. I am an English teacher, so of course, outlining is extremely important. So if there's anything I don't cover by the end of this, y'all are free to ask me about it. There's too many memes. Are we going to talk about future bingo fun? Oh, Clara, that is a very good question. I'll go ahead and answer that. We are going to talk about the bingo card that I made for season 3. I am, of course, making a bingo card for the Final Stroke movies. Of course I am. You all know me. I've come to love the idea of making these bingo cards. I might actually do bingo cards for other series that I'm reacting to as we go on. I might end up doing that because this was so much fun. Like I had so much fun with this bingo card, and I've got it in my notes. We'll talk about it a little bit later. So Annie, before we start fully, yes, we've got so much to get through. Yeah, there's 3 seasons. There is really, I haven't read any of the light novels. I haven't gotten to the light novels, the audio drama. I'm going to talk about those at the end. I've only watched the one OVA. There are multiple OVAs, but some of them are strictly recap. The one OVA that's at the end of season 2 is totally original, and I highly recommend it. And then there are the movies. There is Starting Days. There is Timeless Medley, which has 2 parts. There is Take Your Marks, which has 4 parts. And then there is Road to the World. And I will say this about Free. This is probably one of the things I love most about this series is that in a lot of anime, like my brother and I are big One Piece fans. Some of those movies, they're just filler. They have nothing to do with the canon. You don't have to watch them. But with Free, you need to watch the movies. You need to watch them because if you don't, there's so much that you miss out on. And I feel like if you don't see the movies, it's not a complete experience. This show, what I love most about it is that it rewards you for watching. When I first started this show, I was like, I don't know what I'm getting into. And then as I've watched over the last 10 months, 9 to 10 months, it's just like you as a viewer are rewarded. You get to see these characters grow. You get to see them develop. You get to see the world expanded, the themes and everything coming full circle, the symbolism. And by the end of it, you feel like as a viewer, KyoAni has rewarded you for watching. They're like, here, you want some fan service and ship moments? Oh, we're going to give them to you. You want some amazing animation? We're going to give it to you. It just gets better and better. And honestly, some of you, when I was getting to the 3rd season, some people were like, oh, that's not my favorite season. The 3rd season's my favorite. It is because I feel like KyoAni, by the time you get to the 3rd season, I think a lot of people were thrown off by the 3rd season because they didn't watch the movies or see the OVA. If you didn't watch the movie or see the OVA, then it would be jarring. Like I cannot imagine starting Dive to the Future without seeing the movies. I would feel so confused. So I feel like it's rewarding you if you watch those movies and saw that content that by the time you get to the 3rd season, it's like eating a big old slice of cake. I have a huge sweet tooth. So the 3rd season is like a big old slice of cake and you're just like, yes. I'm just like, but Annie, I know you're just now getting on the 3rd season. Oh, it will be great. The Free animated universe, it really is an expanded universe. It's so huge. I want to thank KyoAni for, I think they made a commercial and that commercial was so popular. People were like, make an anime out of it. And most anime only original projects don't go past that 1st season. I'm thinking of we're still waiting on like Yuri on Ice to have its movie and potential 2nd season. There's that example. Skate the Infinity is another example. Both amazing shows. And Free follows along the same lines. It's one of those things where usually you don't see it go past this, but it gained so much popularity. And I'm so glad that it did. But I want to talk about first impressions of the show. So I'll be honest. I had heard before series, but I was naive. I was of the mindset because I'd heard from other people. They were like, oh, it's just fan service. It's just half naked men swimming. It's just fluff. It's nothing big. And now I want to go back to those people and make them sit down and watch all 3 seasons with me and be like, what are you talking about? This show has so much character development and so much heart and humor. And yeah, there's some fan service, but it's honestly, it's so toned down from what I was expecting. Yeah, I think what people get most hung up about is the first ED, the Splash Free song, because I'm not gonna lie. When I first saw Splash Free, I'm like, oh, this is why people think that Free is the way that it is. Because it is. It's like all the symbolism of Haru in the desert and Rin like pouring the water over him, like, Flash dance style. And I'm like, oh, okay. okay, I see why people think this. I'm like, oh, I get it. But no, I think that it's really fun if you go back and watch the first OP and ED and compare it to the last OP and ED. The show has transformed and developed so much that the first OP and ED are very kind of like stereotypical 2010s, like all the kind of tropes that you see in anime at the time. And it is kind of fan servicey. But by the time you get to the second and the third OP and ED, it's all connected to the story. It again rewards you for watching because it just gets better and better. The club under the Taj Mahal, Sirdan, with the guy in harnesses and gas masks. I'll be honest, the first couple episodes, I wasn't paying attention to the background of the club. I was paying attention to their club outfits, Haru and the others, and their varsity track jackets. And then somebody commented about the gas masks, and I was like, wait, why? I was like, I don't understand. So yeah, I think that that's where a lot of the reputation comes from in that first season. And I really liked the first season, but I think that for me personally, and I won't judge anybody's opinion. If you think the first season is the best, I get it. I totally understand. For me, I think the show develops and gets better each season as it goes. And so I love the first season, but it's probably for me, it's the one I rewatched the least. I'll rewatch the second season, and I've honestly rewatched the third season far more than any of the others just because of all the character interactions. It's like the third season is, for me, fan service done well. You've met these characters, you've followed them. The plot lines are a bit more mature, and it kind of reflects that college atmosphere by the time you get to the third season. And there's still angst in the third season, but it doesn't feel as juvenile in the third season. It's all tied to these deep bonds that these characters have built over the last 3 seasons and years, because I think Free started in 2013, like 8 years ago, and it's just developed since then. So it feels like that amount of time has passed. If you go back and watch the first season, the main thing that dates it is the technology and then also the fashion. I mean, you can see them with their flip phones, and it's very 2013, very 2011. You're like, oh yeah. And their clothing is kind of more trendy for that time period, and it's kind of developed since then. One of the things I want to do after this series is over, well, now that it's over, while I'm working on other things, is one of the big projects that I want to do is I want to do a side video and do the Free fashion, ranking the characters based on their fashion sense. That's my next Free project. Now that I'm done with Free and I'm caught up, I want to do a video where I go through each character and rank them by their fashion sense, which I'm not a fashionista. I'm not a fashion major. So, it's going to be very biased, but I think it'd be a lot of fun because one of the great things about Free is the fashion choices that all the characters make. So it's going to be a funny video. Hopefully it's funny. Hopefully y'all find it funny. But yeah, that's my next project, is when I'm not doing reactions, my next side project is going to be doing a Free fashion take on all the characters. And if you can see Sosuke back there, the poster of him in those casual clothes is the official series Kiwani just released called On My Day Off. And each of the main characters, it's a series where it shows what they're doing on their day off. And that's Sosuke's. He's just lounging at the gym, reading a sports magazine, being fly as hell. So what I'm going to do is take all of those images along with the Free fashion over the last 3 seasons and rank each character based on those, like who has the best fashion. I have a lot of jokes that I've wrote down about the characters and that. So, I mean, Kasumi and his man bags. Kasumi is the most fashionable and Free, let's be real. But I want to do that video. So that's going to be my next project, is when I'm not doing reactions, it's going to take a long time to edit because I have a lot of pictures and things I want to edit and mess with. So, yeah. Oh, Clara, Natsuya. Yeah, he's up there. That's going to be one thing we talk about. Yeah, they just finished the series. So Natsuya and Now were the last ones that they did the series for. So, Shark's going to be at the top. We shall see. I am definitely a Team Samazuka girl. I like Iwatobi. Don't get me wrong. I like our demisexual dolphin as much as anybody. But if I had to pick, I'm Team Shark. I'm Team Samazuka all the way. Like Sosuke, Natsuya, Rin. Even though Natsuya was Iwatobi, he's still a shark, so he gets in Team Shark. All the way, absolutely. So, yeah, like I was saying, this series builds from season 1 to season 3. The movies matter. Everything in this series that's been released has a point, and that's really, really what I like. So, Patam, You haven't watched anything of Free yet? Oh, friend, there's going to be spoilers. I should probably say that before we get into this. There's going to be a lot of spoilers. And what I'm going to do first is go through season to season. So by the time I get to season 3, if there's stuff that you've not watched, there be spoilers. But we're going to start with season 1 and go through it. And then at the very end, I'm going to talk about the characters as a whole, the shipping, the movies, things to come. So I'm kind of going in order here. So yeah, you're going to learn a lot. But if you don't want to be spoiled, you might save this live stream for later to rewatch after you finish the series. But yeah, we need to talk about season 1 first, because season 1, what I like about this show is up until season 3, there really isn't an antagonist with Free, which is kind of, it's nice to have a sports anime where it's not like an online lecture about Free. Hello, I'm Professor Romania Black, and today we're going to be discussing Free, the series by series, movie by movie, and by the end of it, maybe you'll learn something about our beautiful, sexy swimming boys. I would, if y'all get a university to pay me to do a Free studies, I need this. I need an outlet to talk about one of my favorite anime series. I really do. But yeah, so season 1, I like that this show doesn't really have an antagonist. It's all about, because most sports anime have that like big baddie, and I think by season 3, we do have that, and we'll talk about Kenjo and that piece of garbage. But yeah, so season 1, what I like is that going back and rewatching the series, man, the dub music when Rin makes his entrance and just being our angsty diva shark, oh my gosh. Personal problems are the antagonist for most Free stuff. Yes, Annie, I agree. Personal. What I like about a show is I'm a big character development show. If a show has a lot of character development, I'm all for it. I mean, I like a show that has world building and plot and things like that. And I'm watching shows that are incorporating all that. But if I had to pick an element of fiction that I like most, it's definitely the characters. But Rin's so edgy, Timir. Yeah, so edgy, coming in with the dub music, being all badass. I'm trying to make sure that we're all good here. Can you all hear me fine? Are we all good there? Okay. It said my connection was unstable for a second, so I wanted to make sure our internet was good. Are we still good there? I want to double check real quick. It was saying my internet was unstable, and I was like, don't you do this. Don't you do this, stream. Don't you dare. Okay, good. Good deal. Yay. All right. I was like, it's because we're making fun of Rin, so I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop making fun of Rin so that our stream doesn't crash again. Thank you so much, guys. Oh my gosh. Yay. But anyway, I think that probably the moment that I like least in season 1 is when Rin gets really frustrated and he like kicks the trash can. He's like, I'm quitting swimming. And it's like, really, Rin? You're really going to quit swimming? Are you sure? And it's that what I like about the future seasons is that we don't have that kind of melodrama angst to that degree. The angst that we get in Free is all tied specifically to the character's own personal problems that they have internally and them working through them. It's not like Rin kind of drags everyone with him through his angst in season 1. And I like that in later seasons, it is a little bit more internalized. And yeah, the whole thing with Akuya in season 3 and Hiyori, we'll talk about that. But for the most part, it's all just characters trying to deal with their own things. Oh yeah, you are not late. Welcome to the chat. I'm glad that we didn't crash things. Everything's back to normal. One thing I really love about the series is Haru's journey. Haru, I've gotten here, everything comes full circle. And I really like that Kiyoani, over the course of 8 years, didn't forget about the main protagonist's whole journey. Because, you know, some anime, by the time you get 3 or 4 seasons in, you kind of lose sight of where you started from. You know, remember your roots sort of thing. Like you lose track of that. And with this series, no. Kiyoani totally remembers Haru's whole journey. He started out in season 1 wanting to be ordinary, not wanting to be a prodigy swimmer, which is funny because it's very true to life, very true. I'm from a very small town. So I know the whole feeling of when you're from a very small town in a rural community and you're good at something, you kind of get that mindset of being a prodigy and I'm not talking about myself personally. I'm talking about friends that I know. Like if you know guys from high school that were playing on the basketball team and they were the top basketball player in high school And there's that whole mindset that they're like, I'm a prodigy. And then they go to college and see that no, you're pretty average. And there's a lot of better people than you. That whole realization that, yeah, you are ordinary and it's okay. That's kind of the journey that Haru goes on, that he starts out thinking he's kind of the big fish in the little pond. And then as the series goes, he goes to questioning, do I go to the big pond? Do I go to the ocean? What happens if I am ordinary? What do I do? And then by the third season, he comes to accept who he is and realizes that he does want to be more than that. He does want to be competitive, and he does want to swim with Rin. He does want to swim with others and Albert and everybody. And so I love that. I love that he goes from being, I talked about in the reaction to the last episode of season 3. I love that he goes from being in this little bathtub in season 1 with just his little dolphin toy and being so like inside his shell, to in the last part of season 3 yelling out to the ocean, screaming Haru's screaming he wanted to take on the world. I'm like, when does that happen? I think that his character, his development from season 1 to season 3 is so phenomenal, and it feels so natural. He just feels like a character that he doesn't change. It's not like his character fundamentally changes, but he grows and develops, and you just feel like it's still Haru at the end of the day, but he goes from someone that doesn't want to cheer on his friends at the swim meet in season 1, he doesn't know how, to in season 3 cheering on Ray, like being the first person to yell out his name. And it's like, it's just amazing. And he still maintains that same personality. It's just absolutely wonderful. Speaking of Ray, Ray was one of my favorite character developments in season 1. I absolutely love Ray's introduction, how Nagisa, which happy birthday, Nagisa, instantly attaches onto Ray and gets him to join the swim team. And I love that Ray is someone that when you see the bespectacled character in a show, when you see the character with glasses, you instantly think like, oh, it's Ray. He's going to be like super smart and have all the analytical swim moves. No, he does. He knows how to do one swim stroke, and he has to learn all of the other ones. And so it's a nice play on the trope of the glasses wearing character that everybody assumes is going to be the archetype of being really smart. And Ray is smart, but he's not a technical genius in terms of swimming. That's not who he is. If anybody is that, it's probably Akuya. But I like Ray's development over the series, that he struggles and that he's inspired by Haru. He's inspired by Nagisa. His brother, Ulia, his brother's amazing. And we've seen him in one scene in the last movie. Like, what the heck? I just love Ray's character and his tie to Asahi, everything. It's wonderful. And then in the first season, I would argue that Mako and Nagisa, they have things to do, but really the first season is kind of dedicated towards Rin and Ray. I think Rin and Ray are really the focal points of season 1. I mean, Haru and Mako and Nagisa are still there, and Natori is there, but it's really, they have a lot in common. And I really love the scene in episode 11 of season 1 where Ray and Rin have that confrontation. They have that talk about swimming and coming back, and it's just super interesting. Yeah, Ray is definitely the hero of season 1. He's definitely MVP. I love Ray's character. He's one of my favorites. But yeah, I feel like if I have to make one comment, like Nagisa is a ray of friggin' sunshine, and him and Ray are canon. Like if there's an OTP in Free, it's probably either Natsuya now or it's Ray and Nagisa. I'm like, I can't ship Nagisa with anybody else but Ray. It's like it's just they are yellow and purple. They are complementary colors. They are yin and yang. Like they're perfect for each other. Mako does get a little bit of backstory in season 1, the whole connection with him and being afraid of the ocean. And he gets a connection to Rin. One of the things I love about this series is Mako and Rin's friendship. Like they're such good friends, and they really have a lot more in common than you see on the surface. And Mako's experience with losing his friend in the ocean ties directly towards Rin losing his father. And I really like that connection between the two of them. But I will be honest. Mako is probably the source, I think, of a lot of the people that just think Free is fan service because of that ridiculous scene on the beach where Haru nearly makes out with Mako, where he about does mouth to mouth. I'm like, that's probably the only point in this series that I was like, okay, Free, what we doing? Like that was probably the only part that I was like, okay, that was a little much, especially that tease. Like you didn't have to do that because I think it's the only time it happens in this series that we have a tease like that. Everything else pretty much connects to the plot and what's going on, and it isn't so much of a tease. But with the exception of one moment, and I'll talk about that when we get to season 3. But yeah, I was like, what? But I mean, other than that, I think that season 1, it's very typical. I feel like season 1 is a typical high school sports anime shonen because it's all the high school. It's regionals, it's nationals, it's here's the plot, this is how it goes. It's very straightforward, and I think from that point, Free gets better because it kind of expands on that as it goes, especially by the time we get to season 3. But I want to give a shout out too for Natori. Natori's brief stint in season 1. I'll be honest, I didn't know what they were going to do with Natori at first because he's kind of just follows Rin around. He's like Matsuoka senpai like the whole time. And then by the very end of the series, Natori, when he's like says Natori, Natori-chan or I-chan, and it's like, oh, okay, Rin is going to acknowledge that Natori is his friend. It's like, cool. And Natori just grows so much. Natori and Rei are very similar because they start out being characters that have to struggle to get where they are. And by the end of the series, Natori and Rei become captains. And it's like a nice little connection between them as well. It's like, oh, cool. These characters have that connection. That's really, really neat. And I'm really glad with how they took Natori's character because he could have just been a side character and he kind of stays on the side, but he does have impact for a lot of characters, not only Ren, but Sosuke, for Rei, for Momo, for a lot of different characters. So I really like I like how he's grown. And then we find out he's related to Mihail. Like, what the heck's plot twist of the century? I just really like I a lot. Get some coffee there. But yeah, so season 1's probably the series that I watched the least over again, but it's a great foundation. I think it sets everything up for what happens later on. It's the building block that we need, and it's the most, I think, stereotypical of shonen anime tropes, and then it just develops from there. So that is season 1, and we're 30 minutes into the chat, so we're trucking through good. When I get to the other things, I got lots to say. So we're going to go ahead and talk about season 2. Season 2, man, I didn't know what to expect going into season 2. I had a lot of people tell me that season 2 was their favorite. And I was like, okay, cool. That's good to know. And then as soon as we were introduced to this patron saint that is back there, Eternal Summer, and Sosuke Bosuke, Sosuke, our beautiful, dashing, tall, stoic man, I was like, oh, from episode 2 on, I was like, yeah, okay, Free. You had my curiosity. Now you have my attention. Like, it's just, oh my gosh, I freaking love it. Absolutely love it. So Sosuke Yamazaki, my first impression of him was that he was going to be our big bad. He was going to be our big antagonist. He was going to be this big, like, cocky, arrogant guy coming in because he has the dub music too. He comes in with the dub music, pushes Haru up against a soda vending machine, and I was like, oh, this is going to get interesting because Haru's like the least confrontational person in the show. For as far as protagonists go, Haru's like, I don't want to fight with anybody, and Sosuke's like, are you messing with Rin? And it's like, and then it turns out that Rin's just a giant teddy bear. Like, Rin's just a giant teddy bear. And yes, Annie, I am a Sosuke fangirl. I will defend him. I understand that people don't like him. It's fine. If there's characters you don't like, there's so many in Free. It's okay. There's a character I don't like in Free, and it's fine. We'll talk about him when we get to it. But yeah, Sosuke, stay with my boyfriend. Sosuke is like it's weird. He's not tsundere. Sosuke is not tsundere, but he definitely has a penchant for, Sosuke is on board the Rin train, the Rin Matsuoka train. Sosuke is like, I'm going to whittle my way into your family somehow. Whether it's marrying Go or marrying you, Rin, I will become a Matsuoka by the end of the series. That is Sosuke's mentality. And I'll be honest, I'm a multi-shipper, so I ship characters in the show with all sorts of other characters. There's not really an OTP in Free for me. It's like, yeah, sure. But I'm like, if Sosuke can't get with Rin, I'm fine with that. If he dated Go, I'm totally cool. There's lots of moments throughout the series where Sosuke is really sweet to Go. Like in the OVA, he defends her. In season 3, he has a lot of conversations with her. So, if Sosuke ended up marrying Go and becoming part of the Matsuoka family that way, I'm totally fine with that. I'm cool with that. I like my Soren moments, but I would be okay with that. It's fine. Um, I yeah, I Sosuke is a very polarizing character because you either like him or you don't. I feel like he's kind of like Ushijima from Haikyuu. You either like him or you don't like him, and it's totally fine. But he is a fake antagonist. We're led to believe at the start of this series that Sosuke is going to be our big baddie. Sosuke's not antagonist. He just, okay, we'll talk about, oh yeah, we will talk about Somako for sure. We'll talk about that when we get to season 3. But Sosuke, he's not really an antagonist. He has the shoulder, the sports injury. Sosuke is our sports injury. I was waiting for it to happen in this show. By the time we get to season 2, I'm like, man, season 1, we didn't have any sports injuries. And that's usually something that goes along the lines of a sports anime. And I was like, when are we going to have that? And then as soon as, Sosuke's over there flexing the shoulder, I'm like, oh, that's it. And I have a penchant. I will be honest, I am biased. I have a penchant for sports anime characters that have an injury. In Run with the Wind, Haiji's my favorite character. Big surprise. In Haikyuu, Oikawa is my favorite character. Big surprise. So me liking Sosuke, it's basically you just put in an algorithm and you're like, well, Romania is going to like Sosuke. So there we go. It was meant to be from the start. I can't help it. But yeah. And then we got introduced into Momo. And I'll be honest, of the free characters, I relate the least to Momo. Momo is like a hyper chihuahua. He's like a Pomeranian. I can't with Momo. He is, if this were real life, Momo would be the character I would stay away from the most because I'd be like, you're too much. It's like, you need to stand over here and just get all the energy, like run laps around the school, get that energy out of you. I need you to calm down. I feel the most like in the OVA, I feel the most like Mako. If you watch the OVA over again, and I highly suggest that you do, there is a moment in the Maid Cafe where Mako looks over to Momo, and the way they animated Mako's expression, he's just like, you need to stop. It's the funniest thing in the whole damn OVA is just it's just feel like, oh my God. I'm like, Momo, no, please stop. Which it's the Mikashiba, the whole family of Mikashibas, they are energy, just pure energy. But I feel like with the elder Mikashiba brother and with Isuzu, they're more controlled. And Momo's the youngest. Momo's the baby of the family. So he's like just got all this younger sibling energy. And I'm the eldest sibling in my family. So I'm like, I have older sibling energy that I'm like, no. But I do agree, Annie, that I like Momo and Ai's dynamic. I know a lot of people ship Momo and I. I could see it. I was like, I've got to control this person, but I has a devilish side. I don't know if y'all, there were a little series of shorts that I didn't really react to any of them. I just talked about them. And there was one short in particular where when I and them were moving out of the dorms, Rin was helping them move all of their stuff. And, and Rin's like, okay, you need to organize because I is canon wise, I is not organized. He's very messy, which is surprising because you think I would be on top of things, but he's not. And there's a short where, oh, hey, Nathalie, welcome for joining us. We're just talking about season 2. We're getting into season 2 now. But there's a moment where Rin's like helping Ai sort out all of his stuff. And he's like, okay, you put your stuff here, you put your books here. And he looks under Ai's bed and there's like a pornographic magazine. He's like, you keep that under the bed. So Ai is not innocent. Ai is quite devilish. Momo is pure innocence. Momo, bless his heart, he really loves Go and really wants to date Go, but Momo is far too innocent for Go. I feel like Momo is just way, way too innocent. I was like, oh God. And Rin's like, ah! It's like, Rin's like, I learned something about I didn't want to know. So yeah, Ai has a devilish side. He's not innocent at all. It's like, ooh, buddy. But yeah, Momo's character, I will say Momo grew on me by the end of the 3rd season. And I think it's because maybe he toned down a little bit and Momo got a little bit calmer as he became a 2nd year. And it's like, okay, cool. I grew to, or maybe it's Stockholm syndrome. Maybe it's Stockholm syndrome and I was just around Momo long enough that I accepted him. But I grew to kind of be okay with this character by the end of it. But Natori, our boy, he really got my heart in the 2nd season. Like the second season was really Natori's because he grew so much over the course of that season. Like his struggle to become part of the relay, him like working with Sosuke, him working with Rin to make Rin proud. Like I really like that Natori represented, I think, what a lot of actual people in sports struggle with. And that's the fact that if you are a mediocre athlete, how do you elevate yourself to be at the level to play with the people that are more talented? And I think Natori emphasizes how hard work and effort pays off. He's very similar to Ray in that hard work and effort pays off. And Ray goes through the same struggle. He wants to learn the other strokes because he wants to be a good captain potentially for future teams. And Natori's kind of the same way. So I like that by the end of season 2, both Ray and Natori kind of their hard work pays off and then both becoming captains of the swim teams. And I was like, it was so perfect. I love it so much. I love Natori's like just his glee and his excitement when he finally gets to participate in the relays. Like it's so perfect. But here's the thing. Season 1 of Free is Iwatobi's season. It's all about Iwatobi Swim Club, hence the name. But Eternal Summer, it's all Samazuka, baby. It is shark season. It is Shark Week. Shark Week. Season 2 is Samazuka's season because we have Sosuke, we have Natori, we have the introduction of Momo, we have Rin being a decent human being and not being a diva angsty shark. Like, I think that's what surprised me the most going into the second season is the turnaround that Rin made. The turnaround where Rin went from being an angsty diva kicking trash cans and being full of nonsense to actually being a responsible captain that could do things legitimately. And it's like, oh, this is why Mikashiba put you in charge. Wow, awesome. Good on you, Mikashiba, for having faith in Rin. It was just like, yeah, Shark Week. It's Jaws. Season 2 is Jaws for sure. And then we have to have angst and Free because it wouldn't be Free without it. But I think that what makes this season interesting is that the angst is more internalized. Like it's all about Haru struggling with what they're going to do after high school. And I love that this series goes beyond high school. There's a lot of anime that each season they all stay the same year. Like My Hero Academia, it's season 5 and we're still in year 1. But in this season, in this series, we actually go from, year 2 for Haru and Mako in season 1 to year 3 for Haru, Mako, and Rin in season 2 to them being in college. Like we actually follow them through their high school experience into college. And I love that. I'm like, oh my God, that is something you don't normally see in a sports anime. And it's very, very refreshing. And so this second season, there's a lot of themes that I think are relatable to anybody. The idea of what do you do after high school? That plagues 90% of us, right? What do you do after high school? What if you don't want to know what you want to do? And Haru struggles with that. He's like, I didn't really think about what I want to do. And I'm like Haru in the sense that I don't like change. I don't like things changing. I can get very routine with myself. And I really related to Haru in season 2 when he was struggling with the idea of what happens when my friends leave? My whole schedule is going to change. What's going to happen? And that feeling of the unknown is so relatable, I think, to so many of us. And that's what really made his storyline in the second season really compelling because you're like, how's he going to deal with this? And each character deals with their internal struggle in a different way. Like Mako, at the beginning of season 2, Mako was kind of trying to figure out what he was going to do. And by episode 8, for the record, episode 8 of season 2 is when I became a Mako fangirl. Up until episode 8 of season 2, I'd been like, oh yeah, Mako's a good character. But when we had that whole episode centered around him and we met Kasumi, I was like, oh, I get why people like Mako now. Yep. He is our orca. He is our killer whale. He looks all kind and cuddly, but he will stab a bitch if he needs to, And so it's so relatable. Haru's struggle to figure out what he wants to do. And what's also relatable is, the talk no jutsu doesn't work because how many shows have we watched where you have those characters that are like, yeah, we're going to sit down with the protagonist. We're going to talk things out and things are going to work out all fine and dandy. And that's kind of what Mako and Rei and Nagisa think they're going to do going into the second season. And then it backfires and Haru's like, he just withdraws further into himself. And I think that's something that's understated in the second season is Mako's jealousy. Mako is always portrayed as a positive, optimistic character. And in season 3, I talked in one of the episodes about Hiyori being dark Mako, being the dark side of that. And Mako does have jealousy towards Rin. Like there's a point in season 2 where Mako's like, I will never have that swimming experience with Haru that Rin has. And you see that jealousy hits him. But what I love about Mako is that despite all of that, despite those feelings, when Haru's at his lowest point, Mako's like, okay, I know how to get Haru out of his funk. I need to call Rin because Rin is one of Haru's best friends and he's the only one that's going to relate to him in this moment. And that leads to them going to Australia, which is probably my favorite episode in season 2 is the Australia episode. It's so freaking good. Yeah, hi, it is Mako showing that maturity of how to deal with the situation. And I'll be honest, y'all, I don't know how many people like foreshadowed. They're like, wait till you get to episode 11 of season 2. And I was like, oh, really? Or episode 12? Because there's 13 episodes in season 2. And oh my God, the Australia episode, it's one of my favorites. I freaking love it. I think I love it. I think it's more endearing to me because I'm a Western viewer and seeing the English voice actors in that episode, it's so funny to me. And I think it's how when people from other countries watch English dubs, they're like, what is this nonsense? I absolutely love it. The Lori and them talking like Microsoft Sam, like, hello, Rin. Like, it's so good. What are you doing, Haru? It's so good. It's actually well done for the most part. I was really surprised with how well done it was. The only part that was funny was that there was a guy that was trying to get young Rin into the car to go to the beach. He was like, come on, Rin. It was just like, it absolutely wonderful. And then there was one bed. Like if you were a Rin Haru fan, then you freaking loved episode 12 because it was all just Rin Haru. It was like, oh my God, just the one. And then there was one bed. And the funny part is that nothing crazy happens, but I can only imagine the fan fiction that has spawned from that episode because it's like, oh, yep. Mm-hmm. Okay, Kiwani, that's fan service done right. When it's an inside joke and they incorporate it into the show and it's just played as a laugh and it's like, okay, we're all in on the joke. We get it. That's funny. Like that's the fan service I like when it's a classy joke that's played for laughs like that. It's just, oh my God. And yes, Nathalie, baby Rin talking English, like it's a sakura tree. It's like, oh my God. It's amazing. I just love that Rin, of course, overreacts because he's our angsty diva shark and things cannot go any other way. Like, of course he reacts that way. And Haru's just like, I don't see a problem. It's just a bed. It's so good. But then Nagisa and Ray, okay. And then we get into episode 13, which is the finale of the season. And I'll be honest, I was doing good until Ray and Nagisa started reminiscing. And at that point in the episode, when they're about to do regionals, Ray and Nagisa are reminiscing over the last several parts of the season. And I was like, why? I was like, why are they recapping everything? I'm like, we've watched the season. We know Free doesn't do a lot of recap stuff, which I like. It doesn't do a lot of repeat stuff. But at the very end, when Nagisa's like, oh yeah, and then next year we'll get the whole gang together and win nationals. And I'm like, oh, yeah, no, it's not going to be like that. And then when Ray and Nagisa start to cry about it, it's so sad. And that part got me was that realization that no, it's ending. The four of them together is ending. And just like real life, they're going to have to go move on and just kind of go their separate ways. And that's just part of reality. Like that part got me. I was like, oh, them just realizing that that's what's happening. I was like, oh man, it's just it made me get really emotional. What is my dog doing? Sorry. I was like, Huck, what are you doing? But yeah, that part really got me. And then I have like a Psyduck on the shelf there, and I think that's what he was going after. But he's like at my feet now. But yeah. Also, I'm looking at the chat now. Mamo-chan doing Rin's English voice. He's probably one of my favorite Japanese voice actors that does an English voice. His English is so, I'd say the only exception is Amiyu, who does Hinata's voice for Haikyuu. But Ayumu is originally from the US, so that kind of makes sense that his English is so good. But yeah, and Ray's flashbacks were all about Nagisa. Han, yes, oh my God. Well, Ray and Nagisa are canon for sure. There's no questioning who Nagisa's with. Let's be honest. And as far as the rest of the stuff about season 2, Sosuke's arm injury, I'm going to talk about this. So season 1 and season 2, the reason why I like season 3 a little bit more is that the angst and the crutch of season 3, it doesn't rely on any kind of over the top ridiculous gimmicks. Like season 1 had Rin swimming with them in regionals and them getting disqualified. And it's like, okay, that was really good, like as an inspirational moment for Rin to reconnect with his team, and it's all tying it back together, and that's really great. But I'm like, in real life, your coach would be like chewing y'all out, and I'm surprised at Samazuka. I'm surprised Mikishima did not chew Rin out more for basically disqualifying himself and Iwatobi for that stunt. Like, I'm surprised it went over as smoothly as it did. But there was that stint in season 1. Season 2 is Sosuke swimming with his team in the relay despite his shoulder injury. I'm like, you could have permanently impaired yourself, but you went ahead with it anyway. And I was like, okay, that's fine. But I remember in the reaction being like, Sosuke, you're going to hurt yourself even more. What are you doing? And so there was that stint there. But I feel like with season 3, there's none of those gimmicks. There's none of those moments like that. It's so much more true to life and realistic because they're in this college world. At that point, the competition starts getting taken very seriously. And so I like that about season 3. But I just remember in season 2 saying, Sosuke, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? I don't understand. It feels more mature, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And then in episode 8, we meet Kasumi. Get some Kasumi love in this chat. I did not know how to take Kasumi at the start of this series when he was introduced in episode 8. I didn't know how to read Kasumi because he was kind of an odd character. He was just there on the side. He plays basketball, which feels odd and free that there's this guy out to the side playing a whole different sport. It kind of felt like the side characters in Given that play basketball. That's what it kept reminding me of. I was like, oh, this kind of feels like the guys in Given that just play basketball and show up for plot convenience. But Kasumi is the anchor of this series. Kasumi is, not only is he symbolically represented by Kiwani with an anchor, that's like his symbol. He doesn't have an animal. He has a literal anchor. But Tamir, Haru giving the cold shoulder to Kasumi and slapping him away with his hand is still one of the funniest damn moments of the show. And I will go back and watch that gif over and over again of Haru just like, get off of me. But when I first saw Kasumi in the show, I really thought he was going to be this flirty, handsy character, which hence is why I put it on the bingo card that he was going to be flirty and handsy. But Kasumi ends up being so much more than that. He not only is the anchor of the show, but he like ties all the characters together. And he's this wonderful springboard that the characters can kind of bounce off of without having to worry about him being a competitive swimmer, because he has nothing to do with swimming. He's just there as support, and the characters can kind of rely on him. And I really like that about Kasumi's character. I think that's pretty important with him going through as the series progresses. Yeah, he connects with everyone. It's 6 degrees of Kasumi. If you don't know what that joke is, there's a meme of 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, and the actor Kevin Bacon is connected to all these different actors and characters throughout the film industry in the West. And so the joke is 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. You can find some way to connect an actor or actress with Kevin Bacon. And so Kasumi's the same way. Kasumi connects to every single character in Free. So it's 6 degrees of Kasumi, which I really like. Now, I will say this. I have in my notes here. Apparently, there is an audio drama out there somewhere that has Kasumi and Hiyori doing 3-on-3 basketball match. I didn't know about this, but I'm going to tell y'all when I find it, I'm going to react to it, because when we get to season 3, we'll talk about Kasumi and Hiyori when we get to season 3 on my notes. But that is amazing to me. And when I find it, I'm going to react to that, because I'm like, we finally get to see Kasumi doing basketball things. Yes. If they did, you know what, Kiwani, if you're done with Free, the swim series, I totally understand it. But you know what? If you want to do a spin-off series about Kasumi's basketball adventures and get Asahi and the others kind of involved in that as cameos, do it. Because Kiwani done a basketball anime? I don't think so. You need to. Can you imagine like the all of the texture on the basketballs in high definition as it flies through the air, the sweat beads on people's faces? the jerseys fluttering in the breeze. Like, I need this. Kiyoani, I'm pitching you an idea. Just do the Kasumi spinoff series that we've been asking for years and give our pink-haired boy some love. That's all I ask. But yeah, I don't know much about the drama CDs, but I definitely want to review that one because I really like Kasumi's character an awful lot. So yeah. Oh my gosh. But okay, so right after season 2, there is the OVA. And going into the OVA, I really thought it was just going to be a random recap. No, if you've not seen the OVA that ends season 2, you need to see it. It's so good. There's character development, the discovery that Haru and Sosuke are actually not so different, you and I. Haru and Sosuke are actually quite similar. They're very serious characters who take swimming very seriously. They both have a penchant for Rin. And so it's just really good. The water gun fight, I still, when Ray gets hit with the water gun and Rin's like holding him in his arms, he's like, don't die. And I love that it's Nagisa being completely badass. Nagisa's got the squirt guns. He's like, gotcha. It's like, of course, Nagisa would be the one to shoot Ray with the water guns. Of course he would be. And Rin would be the one to catch him in his arms. Like, I've seen a lot of people that have shipped Ray with Rin based on that OVA. I see you. I get it. It's so over dramatic and wonderful. I absolutely love and then of course they do the fan service of it being the maid cafe and everybody thinking that Rin was going to be in the maid outfit. Rin is far too alpha for that. Is he though? But yeah, Rin is not going to be in a maid outfit. Although I have seen the fan art where they drew him in his second year being in the maid outfit. And that was pretty great. I love that. But there's also a connection in the OVA that has been pointed out to me, and I've noticed rewatching it that I want to tell you all about. It's the square, the shipping square, right? So the shipping square there is Mako and Haru and Rin and Sosuke, right? We have a shipping square. So you have Mako Haru, you have some people do Mako Rin, some people do Mako Sosuke. Totally get it. Some people do Rin Sosuke. Rin Mako, Rin Haru. And then I don't think anybody ships Haru with Sosuke because they don't really like each other, but they do Haru Rin, Haru Mako. But here's the thing. These 4 characters are all connected by one main thing, and that is cooking. If you watch the OVA, it's revealed that Sosuke, his family own a restaurant, and Sosuke does the cooking for the maid cafe. Haru likes to cook. He cooks all the mackerel. He cooks himself his own meals, everything like that. Mako, we see in season 3 when they're in the apartment. Mako makes all the food for Nagisa and Ray when they come to visit. He makes all the meals for them. So he's a good cook. Rin, the gift that broke the internet should not have been Kim Kardashian. It should have been Rin licking egg off his finger. Let's be real here. It's Rin cooking in the Australia episode in season 3 at the start of it. Like, cooking ties them all together. And maybe Mako is, hi, I'm just seeing your comment. Maybe Mako is horrible at cooking, but he still takes time to cook. He didn't make them all breakfast. They seemed to like it. They weren't poisoned. So we'll roll with it. Rin's whole scene in season 3, again, fan service done right. They're raking his hand through the hair. They're licking the egg off his finger. Like, Kiyoani, you're just trying to give us a heart attack. I just, so good. But yeah, I'm on page 2 now of notes, and we're an hour into it. So there we go. So yeah, seasons 1 and 2, they're just really, really good all around. I really like season 2 quite a lot. And so I was worried because I had a lot of people tell me that that season 3 wasn't their favorite and that there were all these movies in between. I was really nervous going into the movies because I didn't know what to expect. Because like I said, I'm not a fan of filler. When anime does filler or stuff that's not canon, that doesn't connect to the story, I'm not a fan of it. I'm like, I feel like I'm wasting my time. Even if I like a show and I like the characters, if it doesn't connect or have any significance, I feel like I'm wasting my time watching it. And so I was really nervous going into starting days. I really was, because I'd also been told that the same animation director and producer did the first 2 seasons and then it transitioned to a different one that did starting days and the movies, and then it transitioned to a different one doing Dive to the Future. So I was worried, but I was so pleasantly surprised with starting days. Annie, starting days is so good. And it's such a tone shift. Like I think it's because they're in middle school. I'm watching Stars Align right now. And so Stars Align is all about middle school students. And there's just a different atmosphere with middle school students. It's a time when you're going through puberty. There's all these hormones, there's all these emotions. If you're going to be melodramatic in an anime, make them middle schoolers because it's believable. Like at the middle school age, there's so much going through your mind and like your body's changing. And so everything's weird that it's very easy to be angsty and be melodramatic with everything. So if a show is going to do that and they do it with middle schoolers, I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. But what I love about Starting Days is that we meet all these new characters. We meet Asahi, we meet Akuya, we meet Natsuya, we meet Now. And Kasumi is there too. So we get some backstory with all these characters, but it's also a lot more dramatic. Like, I'm not going to lie, in Starting Days, when Mako puts his hand out to grab Haru, like what we've been expecting the last 2 seasons, and Haru just shuns him away, that was physically destroying. That was like, like, how could you say no to you grab Mako's hand, you do that. It's like, no. And getting into the mindset of Asahi's character and Akuya's character and how Natsuya and Natsuya, it's so funny because Natsuya in Starting Days, he's like such a hard-edged coach, and he's like, we've got to do these things right. And he's kind of, harsh to them for being middle schoolers and drilling into their heads like all the steps. And then you see him in Dive to the Future, and the guy's like just chilling in an Airbnb waiting for Now to show up. And you're like, what? Like my friend Esteban was telling me about, we were looking at the On My Day Off thing with Natsuya, and he's like, yeah, Natsuya is just being a lazy ass sitting in an Airbnb waiting for Now to get back. I'm like, that is so true. That is so true. It's amazing seeing how Natsuya's characters changed, and we'll talk more about that. But I love the new dynamics that having these. I was worried about having all these new characters come into the story because I didn't know how they would change the dynamic of the show and how they would be added in. But it's so good. It like works. It's so fluid and natural, and they just feel like they've been there the whole time. It just works really well. Annie, the scene where Asahi tackles Ikuya, it's like, oh, it's so good. At first I was shipping Akuya and Asahi together, and I still see the ship. Like, if you ship them together, I totally see it. But as I've rewatched Starting Days, I've been like, oh, I'm definitely an Asahi and Kasumi shipper. They're like such a good pairing. But if you ship Akuya and Asahi together, I totally get it. It totally makes sense. But yeah, and then the changes in the character as the theme goes, that these characters develop and change and grow up, and we get to see kind of the foundation of that. And I think that the show did a very, very good job in Starting Days of kind of, one thing I was wondering about, I'm like, how are they going to tie in all these new characters to the show and it feel organic and natural? And of course they pull the, oh, they went to America or they went separate ways or moved away thing. But in reality, that's pretty true to life, that people do move away. They do go to different schools and you don't see them after they move away. That's so true. There's friends that I grew up with, from kindergarten through 6th grade that I was best friends with. And then they moved away and I just never talked to them again. You just never really saw them because it didn't work out. And so it makes total sense that that's what happened with them. And so I think it's pretty natural and it makes sense throughout what happened with those characters. I totally get it. But yeah, Starting Days, if you've not seen Starting Days, you need to. I would definitely say watch Starting Days before watching season 3. It will make so much sense. Sosuke, R. Stevens, I'm looking at your quote. Sosuke in Starting Days was even angstier than season 1 Ren. He was so jealous of her. Yes, that's the thing. And here's the problem with it. I felt a little bad for Sosuke in Starting Days because, to be honest, guys, and they're in middle school, so of course it's a middle school mistake. But the fact that Rin wrote this letter to Haru and realized that Haru wasn't going to respond, or he was too afraid to send it to Haru, so he edited the letter and then tailored it for Sosuke, and Sosuke realized it. It's like, that part gutted me at the end there when he gave the note to Haru and he's like, well, it was meant for you. It's like, that was, and I get, they're in middle school. Rin didn't realize, he thought he just changed the letter. And what I liked at the end of the series is that Rin still wrote to Sosuke. He still wrote letters to Sosuke and Sosuke wrote back. But that was a sad moment where I was like, I felt bad for Sosuke because I'm like, he knew that it was meant for Haru. And I'm like, and that kind of set up the dynamic from season 2 of why Sosuke was like that with Haru. It made so much more sense why Sosuke was acting like that because of his past with Rin and Haru. It was like, ooh, it was like, that hurt a little. I'm not gonna lie. And so I was really pleasantly surprised with Starting Days. I thought they handled that movie really, really well. And so then we got into Timeless Medley, and Timeless Medley of all the movies that I was slated to watch, I had slated on my schedule to watch Starting Days, then Timeless Medley, then Take Your Marks. And I'll be honest with y'all, I was least looking forward to Timeless Medley because I thought, foolishly, I thought that Timeless Medley was just going to be a recap. I had been told it was a recap movie, that it was just two movies. One was Rin centered and one was Haru centered, and it was just going to be a total recap. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I don't really like recap episodes and recap movies. I usually skip them. But I was like, I'll watch this because maybe there's some extra stuff. And then there was all this extra material. There was all this extra stuff with Akuya. We got Hiyori introduced in this, and we got to see Rin and his family in The Promise. Rin and his family. Oh my God. I was just talking to Annie in her comment that she put on that episode, but Rin's dad, that whole scene with his father at the beginning of Timeless Medley of The Promise, where we get that backstory and seeing what a perfect father he is and was to Go in them. Oh my God, like I teared up, and I don't usually get emotional watching anime or reading manga. If I get emotional, then you know it's something major. And that scene where we see, I was like, first of all, why when Rin answers the phone, why would you not ask if it was, Mrs. Matsuoka? Why would you not ask that? You just immediately go into, oh, hey, your dad's drowned on this boat. You're by yourself in the house alone. Process that now, 8-year-old child. Like, why? Oh my God. It was just so much. That whole scene broke me. I was like, show, you didn't have to go there, but you did. And so, oh my God, the whole thing with his family and then Akuya, and it just, it broke me. That was probably the saddest scene in Free, is the whole thing with the father. I will say this, we got to see Asahi's glow up. The boy had a glow up. We're going to talk about Asahi a little bit later, but our boy Asahi, not only is he voiced by Haiji from Run with the Wind, his voice actor, which awesome. But he is currently, my background was Mako on my computer, but now I've changed it to Asahi because it's August, and I'm like, Asahi August. And my boy, he glowed up quite a bit. I would say of all the characters that went from Starting Days to season 3, Sirdan, Asahi won at puberty. He really did. I was like, oh, like, okay, that's good to know. But yeah, Timeless Medley, there was a lot more, the whole framing of Akuya as being, again, Akuya is a false antagonist. He's not really an antagonist in the show, but they kind of frame him in Timeless Medley to be one. And so that whole building up of Akuya's character, of where Asahi's been, of Hiyori getting introduced, of seeing Rin's family, the backstory, just getting little trickles leading us to dive to the future. I really like Timeless Medley. It's probably been one of the more pleasant surprises in the series of how much I really enjoyed those two films. They were really, really good. And then Take Your Marks. I'm sorry. I loved Road to the World. Road to the World and Take Your Marks are probably, I like starting. It's hard, y'all. It's really hard because I like Starting Days. Timeless Medley of all the movies, even though I was really pleasantly surprised with it, it's probably the one I've rewatched the least. But I mean, I don't want to rewatch that Rin family scene. It's too sad. But Starting Days is really good. Road to the World is really good. Take Your Marks is like a fever dream. Take Your Marks is like a cotton candy fever dream. And I absolutely love it. It was so long, 4 major parts, but it leads right up into season 3 really nicely. The first scene, what a coincidence, right? Haru and Mako going to the apartment that was Nao's. What a coincidence. Really like that. The Sosuke and the festival, I'd say parts 2 and 4, because again, I'm Team Samazuka, are probably my favorites. Them going to the festival and us getting to meet Shu Shumeyu. You got to see Take Your Marks in theaters. Oh my God. I would have been screaming. I would have been fangirling so hard. But yeah, this is where we got introduced in part 2 of Take Your Marks to what I call the Samazuka Chads. And that's Iwozumi and all the other minor Samazuka players. I mean, you've got Momo, you've got you have Sosuke, you have Rin. But then you have, and I always remember Iwozumi because I remember Iwozumi from Slam Dunk, so that name sticks out to me. But, oh my God, the whole thing with the Samazuka Chads, like our boys, they all share a brain cell, and I love them. They're so ridiculous. I love how they're like A plus B equals C, and then they just roll with it. And especially in the fourth part, but I just love them. I love the conversation that we get though in the second part of Take Your Marks between Sosuke and I in the spa, in the sauna, because to be honest, that is a moment where I really appreciate what Kiyoani did with the fan service, because they could have gave us the fan service of being like, hey, Wushin, welcome to the chat. They could have gave us in that second part of Take Your Marks, they could have gave us, the sauna scene, and it'd be like all these like half naked, like what you expect from free fan service. You're like, they're all half naked and like doing poses and stuff, Yuri on Ice style in front of the sauna, in front of the hot spring. But no, that's not what they do. Instead, they have a really tender heart-to-heart moment between I and Sosuke, and it's really character developing and is really sweet. And then right after that, we get that tender moment between Rin and Sosuke where they're talking to each other while they're about to fall asleep. And it's just like, Kiyoani, you didn't have to be tender like this. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. And then part 3, Annie, in your comment on that today, I read it this morning, talking about like, with Ray and Nagisa, if the swim team hadn't worked out, they could have joined the theater club, because that whole production value in the third part of Take Your Marks, where they're making the movie to be the advertisement. I'm like, y'all are going more hardcore than any high school group I've ever seen make a movie to get recruits. Like, y'all are over the top with it, but I absolutely love it. And we'll talk about Romeo and Shizu here in a little bit. But the fourth part is my favorite. The fourth part of Take Your Marks. Oh my God. I can't begin to tell you how funny to me it was that I'm going to stop, because Sirdan just made a comment saying the 50% off guys voiced 2 of the Samazuka Chads in the English dub. And that is amazing to me. Holy cow. Amazing. Amazing. That's an amazing factoid. I'm so proud of that. Look at those guys. I don't blame them. That's awesome. And for them to play the Samazuka Chads, beautiful. So yeah, the fourth part of Take Your Marks, I haven't laughed that hard at something in so long. I mean, one, you have Sosuke and Rin going to the movies together, watching that stupid rat movie, and Rin crying at it, being like, he just turned into a rat and she can't be with him anymore. like that. And Sosuke being like, it's okay if you cry at this movie. And Rin being like, I'm not crying. Just like that whole moment. It felt very, if you've watched Modao Zushi, it felt very Wanji Wushin, because Rin felt like very Wushin chaotic gremlin energy, and Sosuke was very Wanji energy, like, That may be another reason why I like Sosuke, because I love Wanji in that show as well. That could be another reason. But yeah, Rin date for sure. But then, I'm sorry, the snowballing of Momo, everyone thinking Momo's dating Go, is probably one of the funniest things in the show that I will ever see. The fact that, and of course, yeah, Sosuke, his big weakness is he gets lost. He can't have good directions. Okay. But Rin thinking that Momo is trying to date Go is one of the, Mamoru, who voices Rin, does an amazing job of conveying that panicked big brother energy of, oh my God, I have to respect my sister. She could be dating this guy. I have to be respectful, and it's her choice. And I'm proud of her and I'm thinking of her, but why Momo? Why is it Momo that you're dating? And just him at the dinner table with her being so soft, being like, hey, I just want to check in on stuff and see if it's okay. And she's like, what? And then he sees the stag beetle food on the table and is like, oh my God. And then what makes it worse is that the Samazuka Chads just fall in on it. They're like, oh my God, Momo's dating Go. And then Momo, because he's so dense and innocent, is just like, yeah, I'm going to race Rin to get this toy. But then Rin thinks it's for Go's hand. And I'm like, oh my God, this is just too much. It's the best misunderstanding. It's when miscommunication is done for comedy, and it's done so well. And I was laughing so much the whole time, because it's just the perfect storm. And it's like, no. And Rin's like, I don't want this Mikashiba boy to be in our family. It's absolutely wonderful. I absolutely love it. So yeah, that is all the movies. If you've not watched season 3 yet, Dive to the Future, I highly, highly recommend that you see all the movies beforehand. Yeah, Haru, of course, is there to save the day. Haru's like, and I'm glad how they did that, Han, in the episode. I'm glad that Haru was like no, Momo's not dating her. We're trying to throw you a surprise party. And he's like, oh, I'm glad they went to that route of communication to get that all in there. But oh my God. Yeah. If you've not watched the movies, you need to. They are necessary to get the full impact of season 3 for it to all make sense. You really need to see the movies for it to all kind of add up to the end and be cohesive. So with that being said, I'm about to talk about season 3 and beyond. So if you've not watched season 3, there be spoilers. But before I start with that, is there any questions that y'all have about season 1 or season 2, or anything I've not talked about with season 1 and season 2 and the movies and the OVA? Because I want to get into season 3 and then talk about like the movies that are going to be coming up. And I've got some stuff pulled up here to the side to look at and talk with y'all about. But before I do that, is there anything with season 1 and season 2 that y'all have wanted to talk about that I have not gotten to? Because I feel like once I get to season 3, it's just going to be like the floodgates will go. Yeah, so I like the parallels that the series has done. Tanya, you mentioned that the parallels this season has done. Arima, where can we watch the series officially? So Funimation, it's weird. Crunchyroll has all 3 seasons, but it's strange. It's strange between Funimation and Crunchyroll. Funimation has seasons 2, 3 in the movies. If you want to watch the movies, and you have to go through Funimation if you want to watch the movies, Funimation only has season 3 in the English dub though, which is bizarre to me. So I had to watch season 3 with the subs through Crunchyroll, but Crunchyroll has all of the seasons with the subtitles. I actually went out when I was reacting to season 1. I didn't have a Crunchyroll subscription at the time, so I went out and bought season 1 DVD and reacted from the DVD because it had like a digital copy. And since then I've purchased season 1, season 2. I still need to get season 3. The OVA, someone actually sent me the OVA, which I could probably give you guys a link to so you all could watch it, but I couldn't find the OVA anywhere, and someone sent me a link to it. So when I get this stream over with and edit it, I'll probably include that link or make a Google Drive or something to show you all where that's at. Oh yeah, Coach Sasabi and Ama-chan. Oh man. Okay. Yeah, Tamir, I'm glad you brought that up because I honestly didn't put them on my notes. I don't know how I could forget them, but I'm glad you brought that up. So it's weird, right? So the coach that was their middle school coach, Sasabe, he recognizes Ama-chan, their sponsor, and that was kind of the whole mystery of season 1 is like, oh, what did Ama-chan do? And she was a swimsuit model in Tokyo. And so we get this reveal to him that that's how he knows her, is he has her swimsuit magazines. But I guess it's not as weird to me because he has the swimsuit magazines with her. It's odd. It's a very weird situation because he recognizes her from that. But by the end of the 3rd season, I was kind of okay with that because he's been around her enough and interacted with her enough that he sees her for more than just the swimsuit model, that their interactions seem more genuine. And it's not played off as a laugh. There's like, oh, Ama-chan was a swimsuit model. Let's make her feel embarrassed. Like I felt by the end of the 3rd season, it was more natural. But season 1, season 2, it's kind of weird. I'm not going to lie, Tamir, you're onto something. It is kind of weird. R. Stevens, yes, the OVA does come with the Eternal Summer Blu-ray. I didn't have the Blu-ray at the time when I was looking at it. So that's interesting. I think the OVA is in the Blu-ray. I'd have to look at it. But yeah, you're right. It is on the Eternal Summer. I've watched it so much through streaming now that even though I have the Blu-ray and the DVDs, I haven't watched it through that as much. But that's a good point to bring out. But yeah, Sasabi, I always loved his design because he has the star and stuff shaved into his head. And then Ama-chan, I like that she's just the sponsor, that by the end of the series, she's just kind of like their support. She's kind of quirky in the first 2 seasons, but then just kind of tames down by the time the 3rd one has. So anything else? That's a really good point, Tamir. I'm glad you brought that up. But yeah, I'm sure if you guys post something in the comments, in the chat, I will get to it here very shortly. But let's talk about season 3. Let's talk about the soundtrack. Okay. Hi's like the soundtrack. Yeah, no, the music throughout. I love the fact that Codex, that Mako is the lead singer. I love that Mako is the lead singer of the OPs in this. It's so good. It's wonderful. I just love that little tie-in. It's kind of like with Bungo Stray Dogs, where Chia sings the OPs for that show and Mako sings the OPs for this one. It's a nice little callback, a nice little tie into the show. I really like that. Again, Mako is important to the series, so that's why we have him in the show. He's tying him and Kasumi. They're tying it all together. Oh, Sir Dan, we need a prequel with Sasabi and Ryuji and the old school Iwatobi. That would be so cool if they did. And I'm wondering, I'm going to talk about the movie here later, the movie, but I'm going to talk about Ryuji and his past and if we're going to get any of that, because I think we are. So I want to talk about that. So I'm glad you brought that up. But yeah, all of them singing the ED at the end. That's so sweet that they all come in to sing. It's so good. But yeah, them all singing the endings. It's wonderful. I have not, Shushumeyu, I have not listened to their character songs. I need to, now that the series is over and I'm all caught up, I need to listen to the character songs. So that's probably something that I'm going to be doing. And I definitely want to go back and listen to some of the audio dramas, which I can react to those because you can time everything right. With the Seiyu performances, I'm always worried about copyright. And so with the live events, I'm worried of trying to get that with copyright and everything, but I may go back and listen to those, and they're pretty long. So that would be a long thing to listen to. But yeah, definitely. The EDs, the OP and EDs, I would say honestly, Splash Free is the most iconic ED of the series. I was just, Arima Mary, you were asking what's my favorite OP and ED. It's weird because I would say the most iconic ED is Splash Free, which is season 1's ED, but it's not my favorite. I think my favorite song is Splash Free, but my favorite ED is the 3rd season's ED, where they're all like in the suits and dancing and there's all the stuff. It's like a nice accumulation of everything that's happened in the series. It's a nice little send off to the rest of the show. So I like the visuals of the 3rd ED, but I like the song of the 1st ED, if that makes sense. And as far as OPs go, I really, all 3 OPs I really like. I'd say probably maybe the second one. The second OP is really good, but I like the 3rd OP as well. So it's hard. It's a hard choice. But yeah, everybody looks great in that 3rd ED. The 3rd season ED is so beautiful. I'm like, everybody looks wonderful. Y'all did great. Back in 2013, all you'd hear is Splash Free in the anime community. And Attack on Titan's OP. Yeah, no, I understand that. The fact that Attack on Titan and Free came out the same year, what a contrast, right? Now, please don't spoil me. I'm only halfway through season 1 of Attack on Titan. Please no spoilers. But yeah, I would honestly say when I started watching Free, I would watch it. I was watching Banana Fish and Free at the same time. And so when an episode of Banana Fish was over, I would react to an episode of Free to like comfort myself. I feel like if I had started Free and Attack on Titan at the same time, that would be my formula. I'd watch an episode of Attack on Titan, cry, and then watch an episode of Free to make myself feel better. So that's probably what I would do. But yeah, season 2 OP is probably my favorite. And then I really am excited to see what the final stroke does. If they have an OP, what they're going to do with it. It's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah. Okay, so let's talk about season 3. What I love about season 3 is the transition. Like I said earlier, what I really like is that the series started from high school, and when they got to the college years, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to feel about it, but I love it. I love how mature everything gets, how the world opens up. We get more characters. We see more of the swimming world. I just absolutely love it. So if you are not privy to season 3 Dive to the Future, then I'm about to get into a lot of spoilers, but I really like it. And you're welcome to come back and watch this after you're done seeing season 3. But I really like season 3 a lot. It's probably my favorite because, like I said, I feel like it's a reward. We've watched all the way up until this point, and Kiyoani's like, okay, cool. We're going to give you interactions you never had before. We're going to have characters doing dramatic things. Haru's growth and development this season, like him smiling genuinely and wanting to interact with his friends, and Haru actively pursuing Ikuya to be his friend. I was like, oh my God, like where has this Haru been this entire series? And it still feels like Haru. So I really love that. I talked earlier about there was one fan service moment that I was like, ooh, and I would say it's in episode 2 when Ikuya leans in and you think he's going to kiss Haru. And I was like, I really thought they were going there for a second because this show has lots of subtext, not a whole lot of text. But I really thought for a second, I was like, are we gonna have this? Is Akuya gonna kiss Haru and this is gonna be a thing? Okay. And then and then of course it's just him getting super close. It was a fake out. And that part, I felt like that part was very similar to the Mako Haru makeout scene, or mouth to mouth fake out. I felt that was similar, but the character development in this season is so realistic. Like, it's so neat to see these characters like pursuing their goals and their careers that they want to build towards, and it all feels so natural. I think that if you are a Rei and Nagisa fan, then this season is probably your least favorite, because we just don't get a lot of Rei and Nagisa. And when we do get Rei and Nagisa, it feels like we're moving backwards. I don't know if anybody else felt like that, but it feels like we make so much progress with Haru and Mako and Asahi and Akuya and Kasumi and Rin and Sosuke. Like, we feel like all these characters that have graduated, we're moving forward with them. And anytime we went back and saw Rei and Nagisa, it felt almost like a step back into high school. It's like, oh, we're going back to high school days. And it just felt like we were moving backwards in time. It was two different worlds. Yeah, Tamir, two totally different worlds. And it was so interesting. And I love Romeo and Shizu and Ayumu. I love their characters. I was really nervous. I'm like, how are they going to incorporate these new characters? But Romeo is a little ball of cotton candy. He's so sweet. And I love that he's like, has been to America and then come back, and he's lived in Tokyo. Like, he's kind of a worldly character, but he's so sweet and innocent. I love the tie-in that he can't make time, that he's always afraid of starting too soon. Like, that's a really cool thing that we hadn't seen in the swim competition up until season 3. I like that Shizuru, it has like all the fishing lingo. Like, he's worked on a boat, so he like knows all this lingo that's related to how his family's brought him up. And the one thing that we get with Shizuru is we don't know. He says that his grandpa, and that someone noted to me that it was a translation error. In the Crunchyroll, it says grandpa, but someone noted in the reaction, they were like, no, it's actually can mean like uncle or something. It just means like an older man. But it's like, who is Shizuru related to? And I think it's Ryuji. I think Ryuji is who he's related to. We just don't get confirmation of that. But Shizuru being like so sweet and like the all-around swimmer that he's really good at. He's kind of like the opposite Rei. He's like just the soft, quiet version that knows all the swim strokes, whereas Rei was like the loud, flamboyant nose butterfly and has to learn the other things. It's such a cool contrast. I really like it. But by the end of season 3, I really was happy thinking that, okay, Romeo and Shizuru and Ayumu are going to take charge of Iwatobi, and it's in good hands. I felt like it was left in good hands. But yeah, Shushumeyu, it was really hard as a Nagisa and Rei fan to watch season 3, because you don't get a lot of them. They're kind of pushed off to the side a little bit, and you do see them interact, but it's kind of true to life. You know, when you see friends from high school, a lot of my friends in high school were a year younger than me. So once I was out in college for a year, when I would go back and see them, they'd have all these inside jokes and all these stories. And it was kind of hard for me to relate to them, because I had my own inside jokes and stories, and there was just that disconnect. So I feel like Free does a really good job of articulating that disconnect and how it is. But Haru's hesitation to transition and deal with the audience, it's so cool to see Haru grow and go from where he was. Very good. I really liked it. Asahi won puberty. He has the best glow up in the series. And what I love about Asahi is he really becomes like the friend that's supportive. He's like the first guy when Hiyori's being a jerk. He's the first guy to defend Haru. He's like, no, everything's cool, man. It's fine. We love you. It's all right. Don't let that guy get you down. Like, Asahi is such a good friend, and he's so dynamic as a character. And I love his connection to Rei. Like, that was a bomb being dropped. It's like, oh, he was inspired by Rei, and Rei inspired him. Huh. And I had been waiting all season. It was such a tease the whole season for Rei and Asahi to meet up again. I was like, when is it gonna happen? And then it finally does at the end. I'm like, and they did so many fake outs. I was like, don't you do this show? Don't you give us hope and then take it away? I was like, Asahi is just an amazing character. And honestly, in starting days, I was worried that I thought Asahi would be like Momo 2.0 in starting days, because he has that like fiery Pomeranian energy like Momo does as a middle schooler. And then seeing him mature, and it's like, oh no, he's not Momo. He's totally different. Like, I absolutely ended up loving Asahi's character, and I didn't think I would to the extent that I did. And then him and Kasumi, it's like, just get a room. It's like, it's almost as bad as Natsuya now, not to that extent, but it's like him and Kasumi, they're like a perfect pair. I'm like, oh, it's so good. But then, of course, and then Captain Megashiba, who is voiced by the same voice actor as Nanami and of Tatsu from the House Husband series, like Mikashiba Senpai, I'm all for. And I love that he ends up being the captain of Haru's team. I always thought that would be a cool combination, seeing the elder Mikashiba be Haru's like captain. I thought that was a really cool dynamic because he's the one that gets Haru into college swimming back in season 2. So it's nice that it all comes full circle there. But just like in seasons 1 and season 2, we have our fake antagonists, and that being Akuya and Hiyori. For a while, I thought Hiyori was going to actually be our series antagonist, but he's not. Hiyori is he's woefully misunderstood, just like Akuya. And I want to bring this out. I wrote down your thing about Hiyori on this post-it note, and I want to read it high because it is absolutely, this was one of Hai's comments in the reaction, was how the steps that we made with Hiyori throughout season 3, that Hiyori starts out with being, excuse you, why do you have to be a jerk of a human being? Like, that's step 1. Why are you a jerk? Step 2 is, okay, I get it, but you're still intolerable. Not having it. Step 3 is, okay, I get it, but can we have some kind of live and let live situation, Hiyori? That's step 3. Step 4 is, by the end of the season, it's like, okay, you can exist nearby us. I don't mind. You can be in the group. And then by the time we get to Road to the World, it's like, oh, Hiyori, you're actually not that bad. Okay. And then by the end of Road to the World, it's like, must protect. Like, I love that Hiyori went through that transformation in the series, because going into season 3, I'd heard so many people being like, oh, Hiyori, he's problematic. And he is problematic. But by the end of the series, it's kind of like Hiyori is just super introverted and just an odd duck. And he even tells Akuya that. Akuya's like, oh, you're odd. And Hiyori's like, I know I'm odd. Like, he's very self-aware that he's different and odd, and he's cool with that. And I respect Hiyori for knowing how his personality is, and that's just how he is, and he's accepted of it. And I love by the end of it, because Free is about Nakama and friendship, that the others accept him into their group, and they realize that he's not a bad person. It's just various circumstances and misunderstandings and communication being different ways leads to him being like that. And his obsession with Akuya, and Hiyori thinking that if Akuya leaves, he won't have any friends anymore. And I'm going to say that mentality probably has something to do with Kinjo. And we'll talk about Kinjo by the end of this, but I have a feeling it's going to have something to do with it. And I'm like, oh, we'll talk about Kinjo, that garbage king. But yeah, Akuya being voiced by Tsukishima's voice actor Haikyuu, perfect, fits so well. Hiyori's not that bad. He's just misunderstood, and he needs time to he has to grow on you. Akuya, I'm so glad that the conflict with Akuya was resolved by like episode 8 of this season, because Akuya just being in his own shell and being a Haru fanboy and being like, Haru's my hero, and self-doubting himself and kind of throwing himself into this rut. I'm so glad that Akuya kind of got himself out of that, and that it was Haru of all people, Haru being like pursuing the friendship. I'm like, oh, and yeah, Hiyori voiced by Bokudo's VA. Who knew, right? Who knew? But yeah, I want to give a little bit of razz towards Natsuya. I love Natsuya. He is a tiger shark. He is wonderful. I wanted to slap him this season so hard, because Natsuya was just running away from his problems. He's like, oh, I'm taking online classes and I got to go swim, in Vegas and random places. I don't have time to see my brother. And I was getting so frustrated with Natsuya throughout this season, because I was like, Natsuya, I was like, your brother needs you. You need to step up. You've got all these frequent flyer miles. I know you can fly back to Tokyo and help him. Go do it. And he won't do it. And finally, when Now gets to him in that restaurant, is like, you need to step up your game as a brother. I was like, Now, thank you. I love you. And yeah, Tanya, Natsuya in season 3 is the Sailor Moon meme where Tuxedo Mask is like, I'm glad that things worked out. And Sailor Moon's like, you didn't do anything. He's like, my work here is done. It's like, that's Natsuya in a nutshell, being like, did the job. Everything's great. And everyone's like, you didn't do anything. It's like, but Now, holy cow. I talked about this in the reaction, but Natsuya and Now are such a pairing. They are, if it's not Rei and Nagisa, they are the OTP, Natsuya and Now. I love that Natsuya is kind of the character that Kiyoani was like, so who can we make a mature, sexy character? Natsuya. Because Natsuya gets to drink. He gets to wear the ripped, sexy jeans, which arguably Asahi wears a lot of thirst trap clothing too. Asahi's like wearing all the tight clothing as well, whereas most of the free characters are wearing like baggy shirts and stuff. Asahi and Natsuya are like, no, we're wearing form fitting here, sir. But Natsuya kind of gets to be like the mature, sensual character of the series. And then now gets to be the quiet, sensual character. For the record, though, if you watched Road to the World, not now is ripped. Now maybe hiding underneath that cardigan and like sweater vest, but when has Now had time to work out? I was like, we see that scene of Now and Mako swimming together, and Now's just like got his, pulling his hair back. I think if Now pushed his hair back, the fandom would lose their mind because Now is actually an attractive character. Kiyoani actively makes it hidden because he has the glasses and his hair all in his face. But in that one scene, I was like, when did you have time to work out Now? I was like, how are you so ripped? What is this? It's just Natsu Now. I love their dynamic throughout this third season, and they're so canon. It's like the looks when Natsuya is watching his brother swim, and Natsuya gets like a little gleam in his eye, and Now like looks over at him and is like, I was like, I just fangirling, like losing, like you said, Tanya, losing your mind over Now. And who knew? Who knew it would be Now that we're losing our mind over? Again, another sports injury that I want to see. I'll be honest, if I do not get to see Sosuke and Rin swimming together and Now and Natsuya swimming together by the end of this series, by the end of these two movies coming up, it's not going to be pretty because Kiyoani, you have made promises. You have made promises that Sosuke and Rin are going to swim together. You have made promises that Now and Natsuya are going to swim together. I need these things to come full circle. I need them to come full circle. I really, really do. And so I'm hoping that by the end of these two movies that we at least get that. It can be one step per movie. I'm totally fine with that. But yeah, so Natori being the captain. What I love too, double poolside wedding with Sir Dan. Oh my God. Well, I mean, I'm not opposed, but yeah, there's so many. Yeah, we need this. Okay, so in season 3, one thing I've got in my notes here to talk about is Natori. One thing I really like is Natori is kind of framed in this series as like a quieter and smaller character, but then he becomes captain. And what I love is that all of the Samazuka Chads and Momo and everybody respect Natori, and they instantly are on board with him being captain. Like, I absolutely love it because, in some sports anime, when you have like the shy, timid character and they get a position of power, the other characters kind of like are snide and make fun of him. They're like, oh, he's the captain now. No, they are totally on board with Natori and support him. And I'm like, yes, Free. Thank you for not following that trope and giving us some actual loving characters throughout this. Like, I'm all on board with it. And then, like I said, Momo's kind of toned down with this. So we have Isuzu being introduced. Speaking of Momo, Isuzu being introduced as the Mikashiba's sister. And you all were so good. Like, I remember back in season 1 talking about the Mikashiba captain, and several of you were like, oh, wait till you meet the brother. And I was like, oh, cool. And then we got Momo in season 2, and I was like, okay, 2 Mikashibas, that's fine. And then so many of you were like, oh, wait till there might be a third one. I was like, what? And then we get Isuzu in season 3, and she's just wonderful. I love that 1, she is a competent, awesome swimmer like her brothers. 2, she is not afraid to take on dudes. Where was our Haru and Isuzu swim match? I want that as well, because she's like, I'll take you on and swim you, Haru. And he's like, okay. Let it be known that, Haru's not sexist. And she's like, I can swim just as good as the boys. And then I love that she's just like an arcade junkie. She looks like the girl from Stranger Things, which is in there with the hat on backwards, like just shooting up the arcade. Like, it's just so good. And then also, if I had to ship any of the Mikashiba siblings with Go, it's Isuzu. Dude, Isuzu and Go, both muscle freaks, girls going on their trips to the swim meets, check out the muscles. Yes, please. Yes, please. I am all on board this ship. Let Go and Isuzu be together. I'm all for it. But I just love her, and I hope we see her in the movies because she's just a cool addition. I like that she's got like the spunkiness of Momo, but she's got the control of Seijiro, the elder brother. Like, she's the middle child, so it makes sense that she's a combination of both of them. I love it. I absolutely love it. And so then we have our new characters introduced. I like that we get this very obvious Rin Haru parallel with Mihail and Ryuji. Like it's it's the coaches coaching their younger versions of themselves because Ryuji and Haru are so similar that they both have this kind of angsty side to them, this like dark brooding side, but they both seem kind of similar. They're kind of odd. Like Haru's odd about wanting to have mackerel and getting into a swim tank, and Ryuji's kind of odd with his food blog and like his trench coat. Like they're just very odd characters, but they match up and parallel each other really nicely. And I really like that a lot. Um, Also, even though on the surface it doesn't seem like Mihel and Rin would have a lot in common, they're both kind of flamboyant and over the top, but they're both more sunny characters than they let on. Like Mihel at the beginning kind of had this vibe of being intimidating, but then you're like, no, Mihel's like a ball of cheese. And then Rin kind of has that same vibe as well of being like, you think he's this broody, angsty person, but really he's a compassionate, good friend. So I like the parallels of Ryuji and Haru and Mihel and Rin. And then, oh my God, Mihel coming up to Ryuji and being like, Ryuji! And then Ryuji does the exact same thing Haru did to Kasumi. He just slaps him away. He's like, no, no. And the fun fact is that Ryuji is voiced by the same voice actor that played Sakuragi Hanamichi in Slam Dunk. And in Slam Dunk, Hanamichi was the protagonist. So it's really funny to me. I love when voice actors from series in the 90s come back and voice older characters now that they're older. So Ryuji's voice actor played the protagonist of Slam Dunk, and now he's playing the coach of the protagonist in Free. I love it. It's so, so good. It's wonderful. But yeah, just the parallels. If you are a Rin Haru fan, then I'm assuming that you're a Mihel Ryuji fan because they're just the dynamic of them is so interesting. And Ryuji's super interesting. So we had at the end of season 3 talking about Ryuji's friend that got injured, and he had to make the choice of either going to the swim meet or seeing his friend. And we don't know if the friend died. Judging from, for the record, young Ryuji, gorgeous. But the look on Ryuji's face, and we don't get to see him looking at the friend, and it's very quiet and still, almost makes me think that the friend died, and Ryuji chose the swim meet over that. And then he lost the swim meet anyway. So there's a lot of foreshadowing going on leading up into the movies coming up where Ryuji's like, Haru, you need to choose between your friends and swimming. And it's like, no, Haru's going to do both. Ryuji, you don't know the power of Nakama. You don't know what the series is about. That's going to be his thing. I'm also like a little nervous because that makes me wonder, they keep foreshadowing Ryuji a lot. I'm like, we drawn all these parallels with him and Haru. I'm like, Kiwani, you're not going to hurt one of our free boys, right? For the sake of parallels, you're not going to do that, right? You're not going to do something like that for the sake of angst. Surely not, right? That's what I'm worried about. And we'll talk about that. I'll talk about the movies here in a second. But so we have those new characters, and Mihale being obsessed with muscles like Go, him being Natori's cousin, which is blowing my mind. I'm like, what the heck? Surprise of the century that they're related. Him being Russian. It's like, Clara, don't you be saying that about Makoto. Don't you be saying that. No. But we'll talk about the movie and the theories about that in a minute. But then we had 2 other new characters introduced. And I am sorry, in the OP for season 3, I had been waiting the entire season to meet Albert and Kinjo. I've been waiting the whole season for it. And I like that we spent half the first season getting Akuya back on track, dealing with his angst. The Little Mermaid symbolism was so cool throughout. Like, I absolutely love the Little Mermaid tie-in. And I love that both Akuya and Hiyori thought they were the Little Mermaid, and they thought their own versions of the fairy tale catering around them. I thought that was a really cool tie-in. I like that we spent the first half of the season handling that angst, getting that situation cleared up. We all bonded, the power of Nakama, la-di-da, lots of fun stuff. And then we get in the second half of the season, and it's dealing more with Albert and Kinjo, Haru wanting to become competitive, leading to regionals, leading up to nationals. And I'm so glad that Road to the World settled that debate of where Haru plays. I don't know how y'all did it. I don't know how you all watched the last episode of season 3 and had to wait a year until you watched Road to the World. How you all did it is beyond me, because I would have freaked out not knowing what happened. And then I was like, oh, thank God Road to the World told us what happened. Thank you. But I don't know how y'all did it. Y'all have the power of saints, the magnitude to be able to wait that long between all of these series and all these seasons. I don't know how y'all do it. I guess I'm going to experience that now with the movies, but it's not that big of amount of time. So I'm kind of been spoiled. I've been spoiled with Free. I feel like I started watching this series at the perfect time because I've been through the whole seasons and all the movies, and now I just have to wait within a year to see the ending of the series. So I feel like we're masochists. You wouldn't expect your Free fandom to be masochistic, but that is where you'd be wrong. You wouldn't expect a series so wholesome to have a masochistic fan base, but here we are. Oh my gosh. Wait, what happened to Makoto's VA? Ulya, you need to explain in the chat what has happened to Makoto's VA. I need explanations in the chat, please, and then I'll read them out loud to the group. I'm guessing something happened. I don't know. But yeah, so this whole series has been building up to Albert and, oh no, what is this? Accused of cheat, because he's married to Lisa, isn't it? The singer Lisa, right? Mako's VA. Oh my gosh. Oh, he cheated on his wife. She's so pretty. How dare he? Mako. No. You know what? Mako is his own character. We will not tie Mako's character to his VA. So I don't know. That's scandalous. I hope they don't replace Mako's VA. I'm like, you only have 2 movies, and they've clearly already filmed 1 movie. So I'm sure they've already done the voice acting for that 1 movie that's coming out already. I'm assuming they probably. Oh, interesting. Huh. I'm assuming they probably already recorded his voice acting, and maybe it's good timing. Maybe it's good timing that this is the end of the series, so Mako's VA doesn't have to do anything else. That's sad. Huh. That's really disturbing. Interesting. Interesting. But so I've been waiting for Albert and Kenjo to make an appearance. And it's so funny because Albert Wallander, this series from the OP to right when he's first introduced, like in episode 9 or 10, he's framed as this big, intimidating figure. Like he's got a Grim Reaper motif. He's freaking tall. He's swole. He has the hair in his face. He's got the purple eyes. He's just they frame him as an intimidating antagonist, but it's all a fake out because he is the biggest cinnamon roll. Like you said, Tanya, I can't with him. No, he's a Swedish fish that is absolute pure sugar. And I fell in love with him the moment that he started talking. The moment that he's like, how do you order this? Like Haru, and him and Haru have an instant bond. The people that are like, oh, I ship Haru with Albert. I'm like, okay, I see it. Fine. Fair enough. I want to see more with his character. I want to see more with him. I felt so bad for him by the end of Road to the World, at the end of the movie, when his coach comes up to him, his coach wheels up to him, and he's like, you're just a machine, Albert. You just need to keep swimming. I'm like, nobody puts baby Swedish fish in a corner. We need to save him. Haru needs to come in with the power of the Nakama and save Albert. Albert wants the Nakama. He wants the friendship. He wants Haru to be his friend. I'm like, I want Haru and Albert to hang out and be friends. Like their friendship transcended language barriers. Like it's been that powerful. I just absolutely love Albert, and I want more with him. And Kiyoani spares no expense to be like, he's the world record holder of free swimming, and here's why. And then you see him in all his full body glory, and it's like, okay, thank you, Kiyoani. I get it. Cool beans. Yeah. I have seen, Clara, people comparing Haru and Albert to Victor and Yuri's dynamic, because you have the international foreign athlete that has the perfect body coming in with our Japanese athlete protagonist. And it's like, yeah, if you're going to compare Haru and Albert to Victor and Yuri, sure, absolutely. Interesting. What a connection. I would honestly say though, Melanie, if that coach turns out to be the one that had the accident, I'm like 6 degrees of Kasumi to the extreme. Like, what the heck? Oh my gosh. You're a swimming machine, Albert. And Ralph, Albert's longtime babysitter, Ralph. Like, I just love his name is Ralph. There's just something about it. I'm like, which it's a slang term for throwing up. So it's like fun times. But yeah, Albert, I just need more of him. I need him and Haru interacting in this next movie. It just needs to happen. But so we have his character, and just being introduced in all of this. And then we have Kinjo. And I, for a split second, watching the finale, for a split second, was like, oh, Kinjo could be deaf. Because I had seen that theory on Twitter. And it kind of checked out because we hadn't seen Kinjo interact with people a lot. And it kind of made sense. But then you watch Road to the World and you realize, no, Kinjo's not deaf. He's just an asshole. He's just the worst person. We finally have a free antagonist. We've waited 3 seasons through 4 movies. We finally get our antagonist of free, and it is Kinjo, the one that sold his soul to become a good swimmer. Because a lot of you are making some really good theories about Kinjo in the reaction to the Road to the World movie. The idea that Kinjo, we've established that Kinjo, Akuya, and Hiyori have a triangular past, that Kinjo knows Akuya from the past. And so we get the impression that Kinjo wasn't a good swimmer at first. He wasn't the best swimmer. And then he just has worked and worked to get better and better. But like Ryuji says, you give something up to become a swimmer that good. So it's like he's sold his soul. He's given up friendship and bonds and all of that to become this amazing swimmer. And I'm like, but that's not true because Albert's a good swimmer and he wants to be friends with Haru. So surely not. I'm sure, Tanya, that Kinjo is probably going to have a dramatic backstory, but I'm like, dude, here's the thing. Hiyori was a little bitch back to Haru when they did that swim meet, when it was him and Mako. He didn't have to do that whole Haru, everybody suffers because of you line. He didn't have to do that. That was a dick move. That was a bad move on Hiyori's part. But you know what? Hiyori didn't grab Haru by the shirt and push him up against the side of something and get violent with him. But Kinjo has. And I was like, when Kinjo did that in the movie, I was like, look, dude, you don't have to do that. You don't have to get physical with Hiyori. Like, we just have gotten to like Hiyori over the course of the series. And at that point, I was like, Hiyori must be protected. That's not acceptable. And then Kinjo saying the line of, oh, you're playing mermaid princess again. I'm like, how dare you? You back off of him. Like, leave him alone. It's like, don't put Hiyori in a corner. You leave him alone right now. Well, yeah, we do need more of Albert for research purposes. Absolutely. Yeah, but Kinjo is he's so antagonistic. And I love that Akuya, Natsuo, and Sosuke come to his rescue. They're like, hey, leave Hiyori alone. And it's like, yeah, I agree. If they're going to make us like Kinjo as a character, they're going to have to really drive it home to us. Because what I do like about Kinjo is he is a pure antagonist. He has this feral look about him. Like when he like slings the cap off to look at the scores on the scoreboard, his eyes are like feral and almost like demonic. Like he's just nothing else in the room matters. It's just how he has swam and how he's doing. Like no one, when he pushes past Asahi and them, he just shoves himself past them. Nothing else matters in that moment. And I'm glad that we're getting a character like this in Free. It's going to make for an interesting antagonist in the movie. But I'm like, dude, and maybe they're not going to try to change his backstory and give us something dramatic with him. Maybe he is just going to be an obnoxious character and we're just going to have to deal with it. And Free's never had that. And at the end of the day, Free's always had characters where they all hold hands and sing Kumbaya and it's like Nakama and friendship. And I love that about Free. I absolutely love it. But it would be interesting to have a character that by the end of the day is like, nah, I'm not sitting out and hanging out with you guys. I'm a peace out. And so that would be interesting to see what they do with that. So also at Road to the World, since we're talking about it, Ray's dream show. What is Ray's dream? We need to know these things. I'm very curious to know what Nagisa and Ray end up doing now that they've graduated high school, because they're third years, they've graduated. We know Romeo and Shizuru and Ayumu are going to take over the swim team. I want to know what Go is doing. I want to know what Ray and Nagisa are going to do. Ray says he has a dream. If Ray becomes a competitive swimmer and swims in college, my fangirl heart is going to explode if he becomes a competitive swimmer, because I'm going to be like, that's going to be such a perfect full circle of Ray going from being the one that was the least experienced with swimming and has had to work the hardest to being a competitive swimmer in college. I'll lose it. I will just absolutely lose it. So I'm waiting for that to happen. And then knowing what does Natori do after high school? Is Momo going to become captain? Oh God, if Momo's captain, we're screwed. Samazuka's screwed. Ray's dream is to be with Nagisa forever. This could very well be. I want to know what Nagisa wants to do. I'm very curious about that. Somebody in the comments said like becoming a diver, and I could see that. something to do with penguins. It would fit his motif. He talked about being a tour guide in season 2. That would be cool. I could see Nagisa doing that, like becoming like a tour guide or somebody that leads expeditions. That would be cool. But yeah, seeing what Natori does, what Go does, what Rei and Nagisa are doing. We've got to see all of those. They've teased Rei's dream. I need to see all of these things. There are promises that need to be upheld. That these 2 movies have got 2 feature-length films to promise us. They need to tell us what Rei's dream is. Albert needs his friend. We need to see Sosuke and Rin swim again. We need to see Natsuya and Now swim again. I just need Captain Momo. Oh my God. If Momo becomes captain, the chaos, the pure chaos. They're going to change their mascot to a stag beetle. They're not going to be the Samazuka Sharks anymore. They're going to be the Samazuka Stag Beetles. And that's just going to be how it goes. They're going to be like, no, Momo. Or otters. Maybe they'll just become the otters. It'll just be what happens. So I'm definitely doing a bingo card for the movies when they come out. I'm definitely doing that. Shirtless Kasumi? Sirdan, shirtless Kasumi. Are we ready for that? Are we as a fandom ready to take on shirtless Kasumi? I don't know if we are. I feel like they've kept Kasumi clothed for us because they know that we can't handle it. That it will be too much. There will be too many faintings and cases of fainting in the theater if they give us shirtless Kasumi. I don't think we're ready for that chaos. I don't know. I will have a final stroke if that ever comes to light. That's why they're calling these movies the final stroke, because the fandom will have a final stroke when all of these fan servicey moments come to life. Oh my God. Here's what they could do. They could have, that was amazing. Shushimeyu, that was amazing. They could have a little like in credit scene where Kasumi is playing basketball and he like raises up his shirt to like wipe the sweat off of his face, and that's what we see. And right at that moment, Asahi walks into the gym and sees Kasumi raising his shirt up and wiping the sweat off. That could be. I could see that. That could be a little moment of fan service for us. It's like, okay, cool. That's how we do it. All right. I'm for it. But yeah, so the ones that I did not get on my bingo card for this season, I honestly, when I created this bingo card, I had full intentions that these would all be stereotypical things that would happen in season 3. And surprisingly, some of them were left out. So we did not get to see Natori make Momo captain. That might happen in the movie. Akuya and Haru never really got angsty arguing with each other, which I'm glad. We didn't get to see Kasumi play in a basketball game, but I'm going to listen to the audio drama for that. Rin and Haru didn't tie at a swim meet. There were no heart-to-heart under the trees. We had that damn bird of fate. That bird of fate, which is already on the movie poster. If you've not seen the movie poster for the Final Stroke Part 1, that bird of fate and feathers, it's everywhere, man. It's like they knew I was watching, and they were like, Romania is going to want to see that bird of fate. We're going to give it to her. It's going to be glorious. And that's how, Tanya, they lead us to the Kasumi OVA. I'm definitely going to do a bingo card for the Part 1 and Part 2 of the movies, and have this with me when I watch it and react to it, because of course I have to do that. That's a necessity. Absolutely a necessity. So, as far as things that are left, I do have a few things from the movie pulled up here to go over. So for the movie, they're releasing little card holders that you can put your tickets in. And so they have all of the characters of Free, the swimmers. They have all the swimmers. The only one they don't have is like Momo and Natori. They have Haru, Mako, Rin, Akuya, Asahi, Sosuke, Natsuya, Nagisa, Rei, Hiyori, Now, and then Albert. Which I'm a little sad they don't have Kasumi, but I was joking with my friend Esteban that Kasumi's like on the back cover of everything because he's the anchor. And that's pretty funny. But yeah, and then they don't have Kinjo because he's a piece of garbage and he doesn't deserve to be on any merchandise at this point because he has not redeemed himself. Absolutely not. But there's that. But I want to talk about, I did a reaction recently. I did a reaction for the teaser that came out for the Final Stroke Part 1 and also for the movie poster. And I talked about that there. But I wanted to some people pointed out some really interesting things. They pointed out that we have this Ryuji and Kinju. They're in the background here, back to back. And they kind of are tied together. Ryuji telling Haru that you don't gain amazing ability at swimming without giving up something, and that Kinjo's done that. Kinjo has sacrificed the bonds that he's had with his friends to become a good swimmer. And Haru at the end of season 3 is like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to sacrifice my friendship to be a good swimmer. I shouldn't have to do that. And it's like, no, Haru, you are right. You should not have to do that. What I'm afraid is going to happen is that oh, you're at a good place, Annie. You came back. Kinjo is garbage. Oh, just wait. You'll find out who he is. Don't worry. You'll find out who Kinjo is. But I'm looking at the movie poster for The Final Stroke. And so what I'm afraid is that Kiwani, are y'all going to hurt somebody to make Haru try to decide between swimming and his friends? Don't do that. Please don't do that. I've heard a lot of people be like, oh, because in the movie poster, Mako looks really distressed. And so I'm like, I'm like, Mako, you in danger, girl. I don't like that. No. I'm like, but how is Mako in danger? I'm like, no. Also, Akuya looks like he's struggling in the movie poster. And I find it interesting that we have the characters connected to Akuya. We have Asahi and Hiyori and Kinjo in this movie poster. And then we have characters connected to Rin. We have Sosuke, we have Mako and Haru connected here. So I have a feeling, and then there's Albert in the background, but I feel like Albert's not going to be a big player in this first movie. I think he's just going to be like the background antagonist. I think they're going to save Albert for part 2. They're going to save Albert for part 2 of that. Of the movies, that he's going to be our final boss. Our final boss is Albert, and they're going to save him for that. I have a feeling that Kinjo's whole thing is going to get taken care of in this movie, and I'm assuming we're going to get backstory probably with Akuya and Hiyori and Kinjo. More backstory with that. Asahi's tied in together with Akuya, so maybe we're going to get something with that. But I don't want Mako to get injured. I don't want that. Nope. Don't be doing that, show. Not a chance. And I'm wondering if maybe they show Rin and Sosuke back to back. I wonder if we're going to get, because like I said, one of the promises this show has made is that Natsuya and Now are going to swim together, and Rin and Sosuke are going to swim together. And we get a lot of focus on Sosuke in the trailer. So I'm wondering if in this part 1 movie, we're going to get Sosuke and Rin swimming together. I wonder if that's how it's going to, because we've got a lot of focus on Rin. It's set in Australia. There's Sosuke focus. There's focus with Akuya, and then Haru, and then obviously Kinjo and them. So I'm like, and then we see all the other characters in the background. So they're not going to be as big of a player in the movie, or at least it seems like that. I really want Ryuji backstory. I really want to know in the past more about Ryuji and Mihail's dynamic when they were swimming against each other. I feel like that's going to come into play in this movie, and it's all going to tie back around to Haru and his relationship with Rin and Akuya and Albert. So I'm really curious about all that. But Kiwani, if you give us if a bus hits Mako, I'm going to freak out. I can't, because I'm like, how else would Mako get hurt? How else would Mako get hurt? I'm like, he's going to be a personal trainer. It didn't. I don't like it. But yeah, the Rin scene in the shower, I put a picture of that on Twitter. I was like, Kiwani, bless you, giving us that shower scene with Rin. I'm not going to complain at all. But okay, so lots of theories going into The Final Stroke, and I have a feeling it comes out September 17th in Japan. So I have a feeling sometime in August they're going to give us a full trailer, and I'm really, really, really excited. I feel like we're getting 2 feature-length movies, so I'm not going to complain at all. I'm like, getting 2 feature-length movies is pretty much like getting a season 4. Because I mean, if your feature-length movies are 2 hours, and free movies go all out, they give you a lot of content. They're like, we're going to give you 2 hours worth of footage to go through. So I'm all about that. So I mean, I won't complain, but I feel like if they do these 2 movies, maybe they'll give us like an OVA or something to round out the series. Who knows? But okay, so I wanted to talk about characters and ships and any questions and discussion that you guys have. And then I have a few more things that I want to talk about. So as far as, the free movies are basically mini seasons. That's right, Annie. I hope that they're 2 hours each. As long as Take Your Marks was, as long as Starting Days was a full 2 hours. So if they're 2 hours each, I'm not going to complain. I'm going to be like, do it to it, free. Let's do this. So as far as the characters, my first impressions to last impressions of them, Haru at the start of the series, I wasn't sure how I felt about him as a protagonist. And Haru's not my favorite character in the show, but he's the character that I think has grown the most, with the exception of maybe Rei. And I think that by the end of the series, he went from being a protagonist I wasn't crazy about in this series to being the protagonist that I'm rooting for. Like he became the protagonist. I was waiting for Haru to become that protagonist in season 1, and I was like, okay, awesome, cool beans. And he finally becomes that protagonist that I really want to root for. Yeah, I agree, Tanya. He grew on me through the rewatch. Mako, at the beginning, I thought Mako was kind of like Mako and Natori both at the beginning. I thought were all like, oh, Matsuoka senpai, Haru-chan. Like they were just like simping over those characters. But by the end of season 3, both Natori and Mako, I was like, no, you guys are your own individual characters who have a lot of love and compassion for your friends. And you're all wonderful in your own way. That's pretty much Free in a nutshell. Rin went from being angsty dubstep diva shark to being like best friendo Devo Shark, and I'm like all about it. Nagisa has not changed personality wise for me. Like he's been a freaking ray of sunshine since the start. Happy birthday to our Nagisa, our king sunshine boy, the glue holding Iwatobi together, the founding member. Oh, I love Emo Rin too. Diva Shark boy, all about it. But Ray is a ray of sun. Nagisa is a ray of sunshine, a ray, if you will, of sunshine. I will say this, Kiyoani has done an amazing job, and I've commented on it so much in season 3, but making Nagisa grow up. Like Nagisa went from looking so young in season 1 that by the end of season 3, like his voice deepens and he starts to look older, and it's like, oh, that's so cool. I really love that. And it's so subtle too. You don't really notice it unless you've watched all 3 seasons back to back. You're like, oh yeah, he is growing up. That's cool. And then Ray, our butterfly boy, our flamboyant captain of Iwatobi, mastering all the strokes. Like I love Ray. He's one of my favorites. I really hope he becomes a competitive swimmer when all this is over with. We don't know what he's going to be yet out of high school, but if he keeps doing swimming, I'm going to be so elated. Like I absolutely, and he's one, if you look at the movie poster, it's Momo, Natori, Nagisa, and Ray at the forefront. So I'm curious if we're going to get more with them. And just, yeah, the same voice actor just doing his voice and making it deeper is so wonderful. Yeah, Rin wants to act all tough and like macho, but then the more you get to know him, you're like, no, you're a freaking cinnamon bun. Like, just let us cuddle you and it's fine. So then we have Sosuke, and Sosuke's pretty polarizing. Some people like him, some people don't. I ended up really liking Sosuke's character, but I understand if people don't. But I'm curious to see what his role in the movie is going to be. And then Momo, like I said, freaking Pomeranian energy that he slowly through Stockholm syndrome has grown on me. That I've really come to appreciate him in the Samazuka Chads. And then Go, Ayumu. I like that Ayumu is really quiet. She's kind of like the opposite of Go. She likes the dad bods. She's all into like guys that aren't too muscular. And I think her and Romeo and Shizuru are like the perfect, like carrying the torch on for Iwatobi with their characters. Natsuya is there's an expression, and I don't want to say on the live stream because I'd have to curse. But he's an F-boy for sure. I don't know if all of y'all know what I'm talking about, but Natsuya, yeah, I love Natsuya. I freaking love him just showing up in Australia and being like, coach me. And then Mihail being like, you're not my type, no. And then him just making Rin drunkenly take him around town and stuff. Natsuya is an F-boy, but I'm kind of here for it. Like, he's the only character that gets away with it. And I absolutely love it. But I love that Natsuya is like total chaos, irresponsible. Like, he would book a flight and not pack any bags for it. Meanwhile, now has like organized things by shape and color and has like extra compartments and stuff lined out. And it's like, now I got all your stuff together. Here you go. Like, I love now since starting days, him being the responsible older senpai. But the fact that he's been so influential in helping Mako and Haru develop and grow, and he's been there for Natsuya, like, I really love it. And he's the one that like slaps some sense into people. Like, if anybody's gonna slap some sense into a character, I'd put Now on it. Now would get things done, you know. And then Asahi, like I said, best glow up. Asahi going from like Momo 2.0 when I first saw him in starting days to being like his own anchor and amazing friend. I'm like, Oh, yeah, Natsuya is that F-boy who's only loyal to one man. No, it's so true. It's very, very true. And then, of course, we have Kasumi. I freaking love Kasumi. Kasumi is the anchor. He's the best friend to all the characters. He's the one tying together. And in Road to the World, I'm sorry, but if we're gonna talk about ships, what was this flirting with Kasumi and Hiyori? What? What I like to think is, because I am a big shipper of Asahi and Kasumi, what I like to think is that Kasumi is a good reader of character, and Kasumi instantly knows when characters are being awkward or weird. And Hiyori is an introverted person, and he doesn't really open up to a lot of people very easily. And so, what I like about what Kasumi does throughout season 3 and into the Road to the World movie is he actively tries to like open Hiyori up, like make him like open up to others and be more friendly. And so I think him flirting is kind of like he knows how to push Hiyori's buttons, and he's like, hey, you're so cute. Let's go play and stuff. And Hiyori's like, but he ends up like making Hiyori open up to others and become more friendly. Like Kasumi just wants to be everybody's friends, and I love that about him. I absolutely love that about him. And then Akuya I thought was going to be Rin 2.0 when his whole storyline started, because he was angsty and diva-ish. But his dynamic and his angst is a lot different than Rin's. It's both tied to Haru. Surprise, surprise. But I ended up really liking how Akuya's character developed. And Akuya and Rin are a lot more similar than they let on. They're both divas, and they're both crying and shedding manly tears. And it's wonderful. And then, of course, Ryuji and Mihail, Albert being the cinnamon roll, Kinjo being a sack of garbage, and then the Mikashiba Captain Isuzu. So I love Free's cast of characters and how colorful it is, how dynamic everyone is. I think there's a character in the show that everybody can relate to. And yeah, Hiyori is canonically the third person who answered Kasumi's invitation to play basketball after Sorin. Yeah. No, Kinju is a sack of garbage. I don't like him at all. He's like the one free character that I'm like, nope. You don't put Hiyori in a corner. Nobody does. No. And maybe I'll change my mind as the series goes on if we get more with Kinjo, but he's got an uphill battle to win. But yeah, as far as ships go, I've had a lot of people ask me what I ship in Free. I'm a multi-shipper, so first and foremost, I ship characters with lots of other characters in this show. I think that Free, you can go lots of different ways. I did not expect in Road to the World So Mako. Where did that come from? What is this comfort ship? What is this? The softness, the killer whale and the whale shark. I didn't expect it, but I'm kind of here for it. I'm like, okay. And then seeing so many of you being like, so Mako, and I'm like, what? It's just, they're such soft characters, and they're such like supportive characters too, but they're quiet in their own ways. They're not over dramatic and flamboyant like Rin, and they're not over dramatic like Haru can be. It's just like, yeah, it's just like a little cozy sweater. It's weird. But yeah, I would say there are characters that I'm like, it's hard for me to ship Nagisa with anybody but Rei. I will say that. Nagisa and Rei and Natsuya and Now. Those two pairs I think are pretty cemented in the fandom. And I'm like, nah. Like Natsuya's flirty with like Rin and others, but it's really at the end of the day, Natsuya's going home Now. And at the end of the day, Nagisa ain't letting Rei out of his sight. So those two pairings are off in their own little OTP world. And it's like, yeah, definitely. But like I said, there's a square. I ship Rin Haru. I ship Rin Mako. Rin Mako is a kind of weird dynamic. They're more friends to me, I guess. But I ship So Mako. I ship So Rin, Maku Haru, Haru Rin, like all those ships. I think you can justify them in different ways, and they all work. But yeah, I did not expect Road to the World to give us the So Mako agenda. And when Sosuke's like, I'll take you out to dinner sometime, I was like, what is this happening? What is this nonsense? Where did this come from? What? I mean, I'd take Mako out to dinner too, but it just kind of blew me away. I was not expecting it. And then I definitely ship Asahi and Kasumi, but if you ship Kasumi and Hiyori after Road to the World, I get it. It's like, okay. Definitely, if they have a So Mako date in the movie, Sirdan, I will lose my mind. I will absolutely lose it. I'll be like, what are we doing? If they go see the Rat movie part 3 and Rin Haru join in on that, I will lose it. Nope. But I can't see Haru sitting through a movie. That doesn't seem like his style. Yeah. I can't. If they had just Sosuke, Mako, Ren, and Haru in a four-way dinner, I think I'd lose my mind because it's like it's the shipping square. It's like you can't go wrong. Oh my god. Okay, Nagi Haru. I guess I can kind of see that. I'm so used to Nagisa and Ray though that it's hard. So Ren Mako, just make it OT3. Let's do it. But yeah, as far as other shipping goes, like Romeo and Shizuru, they're kind of like set up there. Asahi and Akuya, I totally see it, and especially after Road to the World, if you're going to ship Kasumi with Fiori, Asahi and Akuya, their dynamic is so. I love their teasing dynamic in season 3. The teasing that I'm a genius, I'm a tensai, I'm a tensai, I'm a tensai. Like I love the fact that Akuya is like the only one that can make fun of Asahi, and Asahi takes it personally. That is so damn funny to me. I love it so much. It's so good. It's just a wonderful dynamic. But yeah, you have all of that. Akuya and Hiyori is a weird ship for me. I'm not fully on board with it because of their dynamic has kind of like been tense up until the last half of the season. So I definitely want to see how the movie deals with it. Rin and Ray, though. Rin and Ray, after the OVA, after season 2, I totally got it. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the movie does. I'm curious. These are the last 2 free movies. So if this company is going to ship us with any pairings, this is the time. Now is the time. If you're going to submit any ships within the fandom, it is time to do that because you have 2 movies to do so. And then if you're not going to make any other content, you've left us with these ships. So I'm just really, really curious. Yeah, Ren and Ray is the dorkiest ship because Ren and Ray are surprisingly dorky characters. They hide it, but they really are. They're surprisingly adorable characters. Like if the series decides to ship Albert and Haru at this point, okay, fine. Albert needs some love. I'm all for it. But yeah, so this show, first of all, I don't know how many of y'all watching have been with me since I started free. I don't know how many of you have been, but thank you for voting for this. Annie, I agree. If they make a ship canon, the community would have a bunch of complaints because then it would be canon. I think if they do make Natsuya now canon or Rei and Nagisa, I don't think people will complain. But I think any other ships, there'd be bickering. But yeah, those of you that have followed me from the beginning reacting to this show, thank you. Holy cow. I can't imagine my life without free now. I can't imagine it because this series, I reference it so much. I think back on certain scenes so much. I think of characters and relate to them to characters from Free so much that it's just become such a staple. And I'm so glad that I can go back and watch the show now. I'm all caught up. There's no spoilers with Free now. It's all caught up. I'm all there. I can be spoiled. It's great. The hard part is going to be if the movie comes out and we don't get English subtitles for a while. The hardest part is going to be me avoiding spoilers from the movie. I'm dreading it because I have this like sinking feeling in my gut that they're not going to release English subtitles for a while. And I'm going to be like, I'm going to have to avoid all the spoilers because I'm not going to want to see it. I'm like, and I don't want to watch it without the English subtitles because then I'm not going to understand what's going on. So, a coach and Amachan. Yeah, you could have that too. I'm all for Amachan a coach now. It was weird in season 1 and season 2, but now I'm kind of all for it. Like, it's fine. They've had time to get to know each other. Momo and I is almost a crack ship because you don't see it being a thing, and then it is, and you're like, what? It's like, it's crazy. I'm like, Momo, bless his heart, he's not getting with Go. I just imagine that Go ends up marrying the sister, and Momo's like, but all these years. It's like, sorry, bud. Sorry, you just couldn't relate. I do kind of ship the elder Mikashiba brother with the coach of Akuya's team. I can't remember his name, but he's the purple-haired guy with the purple hair that's like in the really cool, like faux hawk, like really cool. I kind of ship Captain Mikashiba with him. Like they got a thing, they got a past. I'm all for it. They got like really kind of like, oh, hey, we're gonna race you this year and like competitive. But yeah, hi, the spoilers are gonna be insane. And so, no, Haru is definitely H2O sexual for sure. I also view Haru as like demisexual. Like he's just not really into it, but if he was really with somebody, he would be. So it's like, yeah, lucky for you, you don't. I know I'm gonna have to mute the free final stroke thread as it gets closer. I'm just going to mute that thread so that I don't see any spoilers and so that I can stay away from it. I'm just going to mute the free threads because I don't want to be spoiled. That's the only thing I'm afraid of, is that it's going to be a while waiting on the English subtitles come out for the movie. And I'm sure that people on Patreon, as soon as it comes out, they're going to be like, here's the English subtitles. And I'm going to like, yes. So I'm hoping that we don't have to wait a long time, but I'm going to gear myself up for. So like I said, I'm going to be doing a video where I rank the fashion of the free characters based on their on my day off posters and their fashion throughout all the seasons. So I'm going to be reacting to other shows like usual, but my next side project is going to be doing this free fashion video. Now that I'm all caught up, and it'll give me an excuse to make more free content. So I don't know when that will come out. Ideally, I would love to have it out by the time the first movie comes out in Japan, but I don't know if I'll be able to get it done that soon. But it will be out this fall sometime. The free Seiyu event, I do want to watch that. I do want to react to the audio drama of Hiyori and Kasumi with the basketball match if I can find it. I do want to do that. But yeah, oh my gosh. So if you all have any questions about free, we're almost at 2.5 hours, which I figured this would be a long live stream because there's a lot to talk about with free. And I love this show so much. The drama CDs, yes. All that good stuff. There's so much free content that I could eventually get to. So it's not like free's ending. I will be really sad when the movies are done, though. I can say that. So as far as what show is replacing free, man, some of you said at the beginning of this live stream, it's going to be weird not having free each week. And it really is. I've not been ready for it. And it's been a couple weeks since I've reacted to free. And I'm like, man, it's really hit home that it's over for now. But y'all voted. And so the series that is taking its place for now, for the next couple months, is going to be Violet Evergarden, which I'm actually kind of happy about Violet Evergarden because it's a KyoAni production. So I'm like, this is like passing the torch, right? We had Free, which is KyoAni production, and we're passing the torch to Violet Evergarden, which is another KyoAni production as well. And the episode that I've seen so far is amazing. The animation is beautiful, and it's already making me tear up. So I was like, oh, cool. We've gone from this free, wholesome, fun show with beautiful animation to this beautiful animated show that's going to destroy my heart. So cool. Yay. Thanks, KyoAni. Awesome. So yeah, it's only 13 episodes. Violet Evergarden is. It's 13 episodes, and then there's a couple movies. And I'm pretty sure one movie is already out with subtitles. I don't know if the other one will be out by the time I finish. But that'll be a nice little short series to get through, and then we'll go back and poll again. But it's free always will have a special place in my heart, and it's one of my favorite shows. Tamir Shizuru's grandfather. Someone noted that the grandfather line is a mistranslation, that it's not a literal grandfather, that it's an old man. And so I was trying to think of who Shizuru would call an old man, and I wonder if he's related to Ryuji. I wonder if it's Ryuji that he's related to, which would be, if they bring that up in the movie, that'd be great. Ryuji's supposed to be the forefront of the movie, so maybe they're going to tie it all in. Maybe they're going to tie in that answer to that storyline. I don't know. But yeah, I am excited to watch Violet Evergarden, but it is going to be different not having free each week. So sad days. So I'll have to do other free projects over the fall to kind of get my free fix. I have a feeling I'm going to want to engage in free content because I love the series so much. So this will not be the ending of our free adventures. It's going to just be the start. We still got audio dramas I can watch. We still have other projects I want to do with free. So that's pretty exciting. I'm going to be ready to do that. But is there anything I have not talked about with free that you all wanted to bring up? Skin diving Ryuji on a fishing boat. Oh, yeah, because it's all the fishing family with Shizuru. If there's that connection, that would be interesting. Yeah. I don't want to be freed from free. That's the thing. This show is so good that my hope is that even after the movies end, KyoAni still does artwork of them and still releases official art and merchandise for free. I'm sure they will. But I really want them to keep doing it because the artwork they do is so good. Theories about Final Stroke, other than the fact that we'll all have a Final Stroke, Clara, watching the series. So my theories are, or possible bingos. I definitely, my theory is, and this will tie into the bingo card. My theory is one, we will have Sosuke and Rin swimming together because on the movie poster, Sosuke and Rin are featured back to back. So I think Sosuke and Rin will swim together in this movie. That will be one of Kiyoani's promises they'll live up to because the preview also shows Sosuke running a lot. So we're building up the idea that he's been gaining strength. So I think that Rin and Sosuke by the end of the movie are going to swim together. I think that this movie is going to be Kinjo focused because Road to the World set up Kinjo as an antagonist. I think this Final Stroke Part 1 will deal with Kinjo and his backstory with Hiyori and Akuya. And Hiyori and Akuya and Asahi are prevalent on the movie poster as well. So I think that Akuya is going to be a big player. If you look at the movie poster, Haru's like in the bottom corner. Like it's not really Haru focused. Haru and Albert are kind of together there, showing that maybe Albert's on Haru's mind moving forward. But I really think the main focus of this part 1 is going to be Rin and Akuya. And I think with Rin, it's going to connect to Haru and Sosuke and Ryuji and Albert. And I think Akuya, his storyline is going to connect to Kinjo and Asahi and Hiyori. And I think that we're going to get Kinjo backstory. We're going to see how it ties together with him and her. And I get the impression that Kinjo bullied Hiyori, and I'm not okay with that because Hiyori from season 3 has a pretty fragile self-esteem. He does not think of himself highly at all. And Hiyori just doesn't think he's great at all. And I'm like, is that because of Kinjo bullying him? If that is, not gonna have it. I want to see his backstory. I want to see why he is the way that he is. I'm sure it has something to do with Hiyori and Akuya. I want to see it. If Kinjo had a crush on Hiyori, that would be amazing. I'd be like, oh, is this like a tsundere? You like Hiyori, but then Hiyori's with Akuya and you're jealous? If that's the case, okay, I'm on board. All right. And then Asti has to come in and break everybody up. And then Kasumi's like, what if we all played basketball? What if we all played basketball and that will solve our problems? I would be for that, you know? Yeah, I'm going to throw hands too. If he bullied Hiyori as a kid, I'm going to throw hands. I'm wondering if this is like his tsundere. He like likes Hiyori. Kinjo likes Hiyori. And because Hiyori was all obsessed with Akuya, that he got jealous. And it's like, And yeah, Sosuke knows Kinjo from his time in Tokyo too. And so in the movie poster, Sosuke is over on the side with Ryuji and Kinjo. So I'm wondering if everything's going to tie together, how that's going to work. I'm pretty excited to see what all happens with that. And yeah, water polo. At some point in either movie, I want to see Kasumi. I want to see them actually go to one of Kasumi's games. That would just be nice because, you know, Kasumi's followed them around and done all these swimming competitions with them, even though Kasumi clearly knows nothing about swimming. He's just like, yeah, everybody's swimming. I'm supportive. I would love if Kasumi had a game and that they all went to Kasumi's game. Like, that would be really cute. And then Kasumi like looks up in the stands and sees everybody. And he's like, we're losing by 50, but it's okay. I'm glad you came. That'd be great. I imagine that Kasumi's team is not that great. And because that's why Kasumi skips practice all the time to go hang out with her. Yes. And so, Melanie, your point that Kinjo changed his swimming style because he was bitter he could never defeat Akuya. So he was a butterfly swimmer, I believe. Kinjo was. Which let's talk real quick about the swim styles. All right. Because they are very symbolic in this show. They are very symbolic in this show. And Clara, do I have a dream team for the Olympic roster? Yeah, my dream Olympic relay team. Okay, I'll talk about that in just a second. I'm going to write that down. Dream Olympic relay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, and I'm going to not include Albert because Albert's not Japanese. So he can't be on the dream team. He's just, you know, a Swedish fish on the sidelines. So as far as the swim styles, I don't know if y'all have noticed this, but there is a very clear symbolic personality representation with each swim style. So you have the backstroke, which is pretty much Mako, maybe Captain Mikashiba. Mako's like the main backstroke swimmer, and then Momo. So Mako and Momo, which I'd say the backstroke swimmers are our least prevalent, which I'm kind of surprised by, but Butterfly Gang have all the issues. But it's mainly backstroke kind of takes a second seat there. So I'm like, what is going on? Why? And then you have your breaststroke swimmers. So you have Natori and Nagisa, your reliable backbone swimmers there. And Hiyori can do backstroke too. Yeah, Hiyori can do backstroke. Right. Shizuru, Momo, Mako. I don't know. Was Hiyori I think Hiyori might have been backstroke as well. I can't remember at the moment. And then you have your breaststroke people. That was originally Kuya was originally a breaststroke swimmer. Nagisa and Natori are your breaststroke swimmers. And then all your butterfly issues. The butterfly swimmers have all the issues. You've got Rei, you've got Rin, you've got Kinjo, you have Hiyori, the butterfly curse. Like it's like the butterfly swimmers is like, what are y'all doing? You all have flamboyant, over the top, and having issues. Hiyori being butterfly, of course, Hiyori was butterfly, and backstroke too. And so, which Hiyori is Dark Mako, so that makes sense why he's a backstroke swimmer as well. And then it seems like all the butterfly swimmers also, and Sosuke was a butterfly swimmer as well. So then you have all your butterfly swimmers converting over to free once they get like a personality change or they have like a therapy session. They're like, I don't want to do butterfly anymore. Free for me. And so you have obviously Haru, and then you have Sosuke switching to free, Rin doing free, Akuya doing free, Natsuya doing free. Like everybody just switches over to free because it's the way to go. But yeah, it's so interesting to me. So if I had a dream Olympic team, that's such a hard question, Clara. That's so hard. It's so hard. They have a personality realization and they change over to free. Except for Rei. Rei sticks with butterfly because he's a true champion. Rei will not switch over. He's like, I'm the authentic butterfly swimmer. Thank you very much. So if we had a dream Olympic team, obviously Albert couldn't be on it because he's not Japanese. So that wouldn't work. Oh, man. The hardest one to do, because you have so many free and butterfly swimmers to pick from. You could go any way you want to with those. But for breaststroke and for backstroke, looking at the ones, honestly, and hear me out here, I would probably put Ikuya in breaststroke. And I say that because it was Akuya's original style of swimming, and Akuya's done so many individual medleys that Akuya could pretty much swim in any style he wants to. Like Akuya has specialized in individual medley. So I would put Akuya into breaststroke because it was his original stroke. He's proficient in all the strokes, so he would be a fine place there. Backstroke is hard because on the surface you'd be like, oh, Mako instantly. But I see Mako as a personal trainer. I see Mako like on the sides with them, helping them get their muscles working and helping them train. So I see Mako as a personal trainer role. So hear me out. I would put big bro Natsuya doing the backstroke because Natsuya, we've established, also does individual medley like Akuya. So he's pretty proficient too. Momo could be in the backstroke. That's true. Momo could be. But Momo would be on my alternate team. Momo would be my alternate. So I'm going to have an Olympic team of my alternates. So for backstroke, I would do Natsuya in the main team because he's a little bit older and more mature, and he's had extra experience doing the individual medley, so he's more used to it. Natsuya would be my number one backstroke. Momo would be my number two. Momo is my reserve. He's got enough energy; he could handle it. For breaststroke, I put Akuya in first because Akuya's done the individual medley. He started out with breaststroke. Akuya's pretty proficient in it. And then if I had to do my alternate, it'd be really close between Nagisa and Natori, but I'd probably do Natori because Natori's been captain and I don't know, I just have to go Natori that route. And then the hard part is picking your Olympic butterfly and free because there's so many characters that could do it, right? Here's my thing. I'm going to throw Sosuke out. Sosuke's out of the mix because boy just had surgery. And as much as I want him to be on the team, as much as I want that, my boy, he needs to rest. He needs to stay with Mako on the sidelines, have some Mako moments, do that. I don't want Sosuke getting hurt, so he's going to have to just sit out to the sidelines. So for butterfly, for the main butterfly one, I would actually pick Rin on my Olympic team for butterfly because Rin's got the moves. He got the physique. He could do the butterfly stroke. I would say Rin would be on that for that. That would work out great. And then for the alternate for butterfly, it's a little bit closer, but I would actually say I'd put Rei. I put Rei on there for alternate for butterfly. Rei or I put Rei on there as my alternate because it's like keep our boys together, right? And then for free, obviously I'd pick Haru for Olympic and I'd put Hiyori in the alternate for free. I put Hiyori on the back burner. Or wait, Asahi too. Asahi does butterfly. Holy crap! I forgot Asahi's in the butterfly club too. Asahi is like the chillest one though. He doesn't really have a lot of issues. Oh man, yeah, Ray. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry. Captain Mishiva does butterfly too. I'm sorry, Ray. You're gonna have to sit on the sidelines for this one. It's going to be Asahi in reserve for alternate and Rin for butterfly number 1. So my Olympic team would be Natsuya doing backstroke, Akuya doing breaststroke, Rin doing butterfly, and Haru doing free. Those would be my main guys for my Olympic team. And then if I had an alternate team, we would have Momo, and then we would have for breaststroke probably Natori or Nagisa. I still can't decide between them. And then Aussie would have to be the alternate for that. And then Hiyori would be at the end with the free. Yeah. So, yeah, Asahi did have issues in the Starting Days movie. He just resolved them. He actually worked past them within one movie's time. It didn't take him 3 seasons to get through everything. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Oh, and you can have 100 meter and 200 meter. See, that's the thing about free, Melanie. There's all these loopholes. There's all these different categories that we can do. So everyone gets a piece of the pie. Everybody gets to sit at the table, except Kinjo, because he's garbage. It's just like, I have such a vendetta against Kinjo after the Road to the World movie that, no. he has an uphill battle to gain my trust back. That's for sure. You don't bully someone like Hiyori that has made all these strides and then get away with it and be so cocky. No, sir. We're not having this in our free movie. No. So that's a really good... I'm so... Oh, we'll slander Kinjo. He has got the uphill battle. If people are fans of Kinjo, I feel like you're only fans of Kinjo if you've not watched Road to the World. Because Kinjo doesn't talk in Free Season 3. So, of course, you'd be like, oh, he seems cool. And then you see him in Road to the World, and you're like, excuse me? And I just found out that he had... he has the same voice actor as Erwin from Attack on Titan. So I'm like, okay, cool. But yeah, on the bingo card for the movie, Bird of Fate. Bird of Fate's on the movie poster. You know good and well that bird is going to be flying around the arena. It's going to be flying around Sydney Stadium. It's going to migrate from Japan all the way down to Sydney and fly around that stadium, letting feathers down everywhere amidst the fireworks. Like, that Bird of Fate is going to be everywhere. It's going to perch itself on Ray's shoulder and announce to the world Ray's dream. That's what I'm waiting on. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. Yeah. Oh, Annie. Oh, I won't spoil it to you. It's not that we all like Hiyori, but you'll understand Hiyori. That's all I can say. Oh, Kinjo and Mahito as brothers. Have we seen them in the same room at once? Do we know that Mahito hasn't just transfigured himself to be Kinjo? I don't know. I'm waiting for the backstory. I'm waiting for it. But yeah, Bird of Fate, the 6 degrees of Kasumi. I just need Kasumi in the movie. And then, yeah, Kinjo being garbage. It's just taking out the trash. That's all we need. So yeah, oh my gosh, you guys. I love this series. This series is so good. I'm always going to go back and rewatch this series, and I can't wait to do more videos about Free. There's still more content of Free to get through, but the main story is now all caught up, and I can't wait for the movies. Do y'all have any other discussion things? The true MC of Free is the Bird of Fate. Yeah. Well, here's the thing, Annie. You say Kinjo is like Adam from Skate. Adam has a backstory, at least in Skate. Kinjo doesn't have a backstory yet, but Kinjo, I have thoughts, which you all know by this point. So yeah, do you guys have any other questions for me about this series? I'm so glad y'all voted for this. I don't know if any of you watching were ones that originally have watched with me from start to end. I feel like I've had a Free baby. I feel like for 9 months, I've watched Free from start to finish, from season 1 through the movies to season 3. I feel like I've come full term with my Free baby, and now the final stroke is happening, and it's all just happening. So it's like Asahi's nephew. We're just all just there's gonna be it. Do you think there'll be a time skip between Road to the World and the beginning of Final Stroke? A sedan. Ooh. I could see them doing a time skip of like a couple months, maybe starting us off with post nationals, and then having a time skip after that, like maybe having a scene rounding out Haru winning what he does, and then them cutting to the events of Final Stroke, because Final Stroke is taking place in Australia. So we know we're gonna get characters going back to Australia. There's gonna be English speakers in Australia. It's gonna be great. Oh my God, it's gonna be wonderful. I'm ready to hear some English voice actors in this free world. I'm ready for it. That's another reason why I can't really watch the dub, is because I watched episode 12 of season 2 in the dub, and it just wasn't the same. It didn't have that endearing quality that it does in the original sub. So yeah. Oh, okay. Mina, I'm gonna get to your question here in a second, but Shushumeyu, that they go back to where the trophy is buried and read the letters they wrote to season 2. I forgot about the letters that they wrote in season 2. Oh my God, I forgot all about that. Why didn't I say that with season 2? Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah, they need to go back and read their letters. Oh, if that happens at the end of part 2, if they end this whole show with them going back to the time capsule and reading those letters, I will cry. I will bawl my eyes out, because oh my God, because it would be so fitting. Ray and Nagisa are out of school now. They're graduating. They've graduated. Our other guys are all in college, so it would have been them going back. Oh, Shishimayu. Oh, God. That's going to be so emotional if they go back to that. I completely forgot about the time capsules. Thank you. We're not going to be okay. Oh, no. And then Russell and Lori meeting Ron's mother. Or Rin's mother. Oh, my God. Ron Swanson. Haru is the Ron Swanson of Free. It's getting a little too chummy in here. Okay, but Mina. Hey Romania, what do you headcanon their sexualities? Oh God. They're all not hetero. Is that a thing? Non-hetero, can we just put that entire category? None of them are heterosexual, I don't think, except for the Chads. The Samazuka Chads are our straight guys in this series. The only straight characters in this series are the Samazuka Chads. They're the only ones, and maybe Natori. But I think the dirty magazine Natori was reading was yaoi. I don't know. I don't know. I really think the Samazuka Chads might be our only straight guys in this series. Well, wait, Coach Sasakabe, he's with Ama-chan, so he's straight. I think so. Yeah, he's definitely heterosexual. And the Chads, woes me, they're all just bromances. It's bromances with them. They were talking about Go getting with Momo. Yeah. Yeah, none of the other ones are straight. I always think of Haru as demisexual. I think that Haru doesn't express a lot of sexuality. And he's either asexual, H2O sexual, definitely H2O sexual, or I mean, his whole vision of something beautiful was a waterfall, or he's demisexual, where he doesn't really feel that intense emotion unless it's that one person. Ren is dark. He is for sure into the dudes, absolutely, and Sosuke is as well, and Mako is as well. And Akuya is as well. Natsu and Nao are as well. Hiyori is as well. It's like the list goes on and on. Yeah, yeah, if anybody's asexual of the group, it's Haru. I think so. Our flaming shark. Yeah, which I love Ren for. What I love about Ren's character is he comes across as being like, when you see the promotional art of Ren, he seems like so masculine and like dominating and stuff. And then you see him in Take Your Marks crying at a rap movie. And you're like, oh, yeah, you can be masculine and dominating and also cry as well. Like Ren's a great role model for like masculine dudes that also have a touching, endearing side to them that want to cry at movies. It's totally fine. We're okay with it. We love Ren either way. I really want a Samazuka shark shirt. That's like one of the things I want is a Samazuka club shirt, but I can't find it in my size anywhere on the internet. It doesn't exist. So eventually one day I will find it. But yeah, it's when people are saying that it's like Free is not a BL series, but there's a lot of subtext, and I'm totally fine with it. Oh, Natori, yeah, Mihale and Ryuji. If Mihale and Ryuji got together, I'm totally on board. Like, come on, all those flash. That's one thing too. If you watch season 3, every time you turn on the TV, it's like it's a Mihale biopic special. I'm like, who did Mihale pay to get all the biopics? Like, what Japanese television show is running Russian swimmer biopics? Like, Mihale's on the TV 24/7 in season 3. It's really funny to me, but I'm like, every time they turn on the TV, it's like, oh, there's Mihale and Ryuji back in the day. I'm like, what channel are they watching? And this is all that they had time to play. It's really funny to me. But like, I just want Ryuji and Mihale backstory. I really hope we get that in the final stroke. I really hope we get that going on, that we get some Mihale Ryuji backstory happening. I want to see that. I want to see younger. We've seen younger Mihale like once, and the only difference is he doesn't have facial hair. Ryuji looks a lot different younger. And so I want to see more with them. But I just, it's so funny. I absolutely love this series. This series is funny. It's heartwarming. It's endearing. Mihale the Michael Phelps of Free. Absolutely. You could argue that Albert is as well, but I just, I love this show. It's my comfort anime, and I can't thank you all enough for joining me on this journey of watching Free, and for voting for it, and for all the comments with all the episodes. I feel like it's been so much fun talking about the show and how the characters have developed. And when these 2 final movies come out, it's going to be a party. Like, I'm going to just basically have a lay on and just have a Hawaiian shirt or a tropical shirt and just have my pina colada and be like, let's do this. It was too early in the morning for pina. I thought about it. I was like, it's Nagisa's birthday. I thought about having like a smoothie or something, but I was like, it's too early in the morning for that. Does Haru have the same birthday as Michael Phelps? That's interesting if that's true. That would be really cool. And Asahi is the Phelps of Kasumi's Jordan. Oh my God. Yes, Clara. Yes. I need Asahi and Kasumi moments for sure. For sure. Absolutely. So I don't know, guys, if you have any other questions about this series. It's been almost 3 hours of a live stream. I think this is the closest we've done to live stream this long, with the exception of mimosas. Sirdan, you sweet prophet, you sweet person, you have cemented what's going to happen. It's brunch. It's mimosas. Why didn't I think of this? I had a bottle of champagne. I just didn't have the orange juice. I should have thought of this. I should have thought of this, but that's okay. And they have the same birthday of Michael Phelps and Haru. That's amazing. Okay. But we seriously, as a fandom, the word needs to be spread around. And I hope that the final stroke does this, that Free is not just fan service. I will admit that when I started this series way back in like September of last year, I had gone into this series thinking what others had told me, that like, oh, it's fan service. It's just half naked guys swimming, and it's just fluff. There's no content, and there's no substance. And I'm so glad that y'all voted for it, and I got to watch it anyway, because it does have substance. This show has some of the best character development out of a series that I've ever watched in anime. Like, it has some of the best, most developed and evolved character development throughout. The animation is gorgeous. Kiyoani should just animate every water sequence of any anime from here on in. And just the designs, the humor is funny. There's not any cringy humor in this series. There's some anime I watch, and it's like a cultural thing because I'm not from Japan. I'm from the West. So it's kind of like a cultural thing where there's some jokes in anime that I know are clearly meant for a Japanese audience, and they're funny to that audience, but I don't find them funny because I'm not in on the joke. I'm not in on the cultural reference. But Free doesn't have that. Every joke lands. Everything is funny. Even Drunk Ray in Road to the World, having too many of them Madelines. I was like, oh, honey, no. It fits Ray's character perfectly. Like, it's so good. Yeah, people who say that it's just fan service or BL, they clearly haven't watched it, because, yeah, there's a lot of BL, like, subtext moments throughout, but it's... okay, wait, mood. My friend refuses to watch it but can watch Skate. No. Skate is the spiritual successor of Free. If you can watch Skate, you can watch Free. I don't get that either. No, I feel like watching Skate the Infinity, I was like, oh, this is the modern version of Free. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, where it doesn't end in high school. I wish the SOS Brothers would watch Free. I don't know if maybe they've had too many people hype them that it's just fan service, but I wish they'd watch this show. I think they'd like it. But I don't know. I'm so glad to watch this show. It's been so wonderful. And all the voice actors are all incredible. Like if you see them do other sports anime and other shows, like Mamoru as Rin, Mamoru is just perfection as Rin. There's just no other voice actor. That's why the dub is so hard for me, because Rin is such a good voice actor. Mamoru is such a good voice actor for Rin. Mina, what would be your animal motif? Oh, yeah. So that's one thing too. So our animal motifs. So Haru being the dolphin, Mako being the killer whale. These are all so perfect. Rin being the shark, great white shark. Nagisa being the penguin. Rei being the butterfly, the only like non-aquatic thing. Sosuke being the whale shark. Natori is like a pelican, which I find interesting that Natori is a pelican. Momo being the otter. We don't know Romeo and Shizuru's animal motifs. Natsuya being the tiger shark. Now is like a seagull, which I find a pelipper seagull. Asahi being, what is Asahi? What is Asahi's animal? I can't remember. Is it like, I know the one guy from Akuya's team is like a marlin. Is Asahi's a marlin? I is a duck. Of course, I is a duck. Of course. What is Asahi's animal? Y'all have to help me. I know Hiyori is a polar bear, which is perfect. And then Akuya is a beluga whale, which again, perfect. And then we don't know Ryuji or the others. Asahi is a seal, which that makes so much sense because the metaphor of a seal is some character that has a lot of growth. And Asahi has a lot of growth from starting days to now. So that makes perfect sense. Thank you. Asahi is a seal. The animal motif for me, I think, and this is why I relate to this character so much, I think I would be a killer whale like Mako. Because ever since I got the orca thing, the orca metaphor, because I'm like on the surface, you think killer whale, you're like, oh, it's Shamu. It's, oh, yeah. But then I'm like, if you mess with my friends, we're going to have problems. So I feel like I relate most to Mako when Hiyori slandered Haru and Mako was like, excuse me, we don't do that here, not in my house. Like I feel like I'd be like Mako in that instance. I'd be like, yeah, now I think is a seagull or a pelipper, one of those. But I would definitely be Mako. I would be the killer whale. I'd be the orca. That would be my animal motif if I had one. My best friend would definitely be a beluga. So definitely be like Akuya. So yeah, the birds strike me like now in Natori being birds. That's so interesting to me. And what's funny is that now being a bird, but now is like the most grounded character in Free. You would think that Natsuya would be a bird because he just flies everywhere and he's just all over the place. But then you're like, no, Natsuya has the shark metaphor, the shark motif. Makes sense. Yeah, I'd definitely be the orca if that was my motif. Definitely would be it. So that's another aspect that I really like about Free is that they kind of stick to that animal motif. It's like on all the merchandise. It's really cool. And then Kasumi's motif is an anchor because he's not a swimmer, so he doesn't get an animal, but he's the anchor that brings them all together. And I absolutely love that. I love that Kasumi's the friend. He's the friend that's tied it all together. It's like, Yeah, and I like that the killer whale is more dangerous than a shark. That's the thing. You think that was the hint about Sosuke. When they said Sosuke's animal motif was the whale shark, I was like, oh, because you think a whale shark, because it has shark in the name, you think it's really intimidating. But a whale shark's like a bottom feeder. Like the whale shark is a gentle creature. It's not, it looks intimidating, but it's not. And that fits Sosuke to a T. And then, you have Natsuya and Rin, who are shark characters, and you think they're really intimidating. Like you see Natsuya in Starting Days and you see Rin in season 1, and you think they're really intimidating. And the more you get to know them, the more like, nah, they're not intimidating at all. They're really friendly people. But then Mako, you see Mako and you're like, what a cinnamon bun. But then you're like, no, dude could straight up murder a person if you touched Haru the wrong way. He'd straight up murder somebody. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Now is a northern gannet. Interesting. Thank you, Tanya. Glad we got that northern gannet. He would be something intricate. Now would be something intricate and specific. That just fits his personality to a T. Yeah. But oh my gosh, guys, this This has been so much fun. I love this. Is there anything else? I hate to end this chat. I do. I hate to end it. It's sad because after this chat, there's just the 2 movies left, and then I'll do other free things too. But officially, there's the 2 films left. And so I'm like, Oh, since it's August, I'm legally obligated to recommend the show Macaco City Actors. I wonder why is it recommended because it's August? Interesting. Well, I'm going to write that down and put it on there. Macaco City Actors. And my dog is going crazy. So, yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Annie. If you've not watched season 3 and the other movies, Road to the World, definitely recommend it. They're so good. But, oh, y'all, I'm ready. My dog is going crazy for some reason, but I'm ready for these upcoming movies. I really hope that we don't have to wait. Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough. Tease. I really hope that the English subtitles for the movie gets released pretty soon. I hope that's a thing. I don't want to have to wait 6. My fear is it's going to be like the Given movie where it comes out in September and we have to wait till like January to watch it. That's what I'm afraid of. Oh, my dog. Hey, Huckleberry. Huck, come here. That stopped him. My dog is a Pembroke Welsh Corgi, and he's very much a Corgi. He is very much a Corgi. He is the Queen's breed, and I fell in love with Corgis watching Cowboy Bebop back in the day, and I got my first Corgi 15 years ago, Lucy, and she's since passed. My sweet Lucy has passed, but Huckleberry is 4, and he's in the prime of his youth. And by being in the prime of his youth, that means he's everywhere. So, but yes, Corgis are the best. One day I'll have a Corgi named Ein. I'm just waiting for it. He's a try, so he's not red and white. But one day I'll have a red and white Corgi, and his name, I think if I get another Corgi in the future, his name will either be Ein or it will be Kenji, like Bungo Stray Dogs, because I love the character Kenji from Bungo Stray Dogs. So if I have another Corgi, I'm thinking his name might be Kenji because of that character. But yes, they are loafs. They are just literal herding dogs that have cute things. So, but yeah, but y'all, you guys, it's almost been 3 hours. How have we talked about free for 3 hours? Why? Because there's so much to talk about this show. It's insane. But y'all, I'm so glad y'all have stuck with me for this live stream. If you missed part of it, feel free to come back and watch it after you're done with the series. I'm so glad y'all got to talk with me about this series. And yes, I will have another free project I'm working on. In the meantime, when the free trailer comes out, they're going to have a full-length trailer for this movie. When it comes out, you know I'm reacting to it. But there'll be that. There'll be the movies. And then at some point, I want to react to the audio dramas later this fall. This winter, you know, when it's cold outside, and I'm like, man, I got some free time. I'm going to be like, time to watch some audio dramas with Free and react to it. But in the meantime, thank you all so much for joining me on your Sunday or Monday, depending on your time zone. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, a great rest of the day. Thank you for joining me on this. It's been so much fun. The next live stream, I'm trying to think, the next live stream right before I go will probably in My Hero Academia. Those are probably going to be the next 2 that will happen, probably in September. So we shall see. But in the meantime, thank you all again so much for joining me. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care, stay safe, and I'll talk to you all again real soon. Bye.